Alright, guys. I'll I'll start the countdown. I'm gonna do a 3, 2, 1, go. So, ready? 3. Oh, wait a second. Fooled ya. Okay, now. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Anyways, you guys are in for a treat. The greatest speed game there ever was. I see that we have some viewers from last time. That's what I like to see, man. I have okay, so no joke. I have told the legends. I have told the fables of the shots fired. The dank meme chat. The puns, the unstoppable puns. I have told that to many, many streams. Because nobody has been quite as fire as the last Shots Fired marathon chat. It was the best. It was the best, it really was. Parasite Eve is a great game. It really is. I would agree with you in that regard. So for anybody who's not familiar with this, thank you so much, everybody. Quaz, Q, Lily. I know that I saw a comma in there, I believe. So far, so good. What's going on, man? Appreciate it. Alright, guys. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the game here a small amount. This is Parasite Eve. It was made by Square Enix, which is, you know, obviously to most people known for the Final Fantasy franchise and whatnot. Oh, that's bad. Alright, so we're going to name ourselves an extra character. Funny little story. The world record run actually has an extra character in her name. So, what the hell? Oh, you know what? I just realized I was using. Sorry about that. Shouldn't have it again. I had my controller upside down because it's a PSP, you know. Anyways, so. This is a game made by, yes, Squaresoft, that's correct, at the time. It is the creator of all the Final Fantasies, also Bouncer, and a couple of other really terrible games. And Parasite Eve is one of those. So, Parasite Eve is essentially... Parasite Eve is essentially a Final Fantasy game, but you take all the futuristic, cool aspects out of it, and you just add mitochondria. That's it. I'll explain what's happening here real quick. No, okay, so... No, in my defense, I had it on the ground, like mashing it, right? While I was figuring out my thing over here, my settings over here, I was looking at them. So like I had it down and I was mashing and I didn't realize that it was upside down, right? Like if you could see me right now, you would understand. Anyways, Parasite Eve, your main character is Aya Brea. She is an NYPD detective, and what you're about to see here is that she is an advanced being to an extent, and you spend the rest of the game fighting other advanced beings. And you basically have to pursue Eve, who is this mitochondria goddess, and stop her from giving birth to the ultimate being, which will wipe out all of humanity and start the next evolution of species, which would be the mitochondria-enhanced creatures. So yeah, that's kind of the whole gist of it. I'm sorry, guys. I will please correct me every time. Probably nude and lubed up. No, I'm not nude and lubed up. However, if you hear any crinkling, do not fret. That is just me eating Pop-Tarts. It's very late where I am. I've murdered a bunch of coffee. I'm a little bit delirious. But my PSP is now in my lap. I think we're going to be alright. But it's actually, so this game was released in between Final Fantasy 7 and 8. It was released in March of 1998 in Japan, and 6 months later was released in America. So, you can see a lot of the Final Fantasy 7 art styles. You see a lot of what looks like Genova and Eve, and then you also see like the character models are closer to that of like Final Fantasy 8, because people do have fingers, people have hands, stuff like that. Oh, I knew the flavored Pop-Tarts would come up. They are wild berry, the only berry. I don't mess with any chocolate. I don't like sweet Pop-Tarts. I like that berry, you feel me? So right there we made it past the first boss. That was the chair. You can easily get stuck on that chair, lose a lot of time, in which case I'll just rage and reset. And right here you're going to see me fight this first stage of Eve with the club. And the reason that we use the club instead of the gun is because the ATB is significantly faster and the damage is the same. So instead of wasting bullets and going faster, the club just works better. So this fight can either end in 4, 5, or 6 hits. 4 is exceptionally rare. I've run this game hundreds of times and only ever seen it once. You have to crit on every single turn. 5 hits would mean you have to crit on 2 out of the 5 hits. And a 6 hit means you didn't crit enough on any of them. And it looks like that's what we're going to get, a 6 hit. So we're already off to a route. Just a solid start. Real solid stuff, guys. But yeah, essentially you just mash. You just punch her in the face a few times. And that's essentially it. Brown sugar Pop-Tart is the king of all tarts. I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with that. I'm gonna veto that, honestly. S'mores Pop-Tarts, brown sugar? No. Come on, guys. Come on now. Probably the same people that think Five Guys is better than In-N-Out, honestly. Ridiculous. But here, you see Eve turn into a floating monster. Her name is actually Melissa. She's a singer. But she turns into a floating monster. You beat her with a stick. She disappears, burns a hole in the ground, and you obviously follow in immaculate heels and a very, very tasteful dress, might I add. Unfortunately, you do not play the entirety of this game in this dress. Otherwise, we might have a few more runners. That's just I don't know. Toaster strudels. Alright, okay. Obviously, toaster strudels are the best, right? But who really has that kind of time? Ever? You gotta put them in the toaster. First of all, I don't toast my Pop-Tarts. So like I already saved an immense amount of time, right? Toaster strudels, you gotta put in the toaster. You gotta get out of the toaster. And then you have to spread the stuff all over the top of it, right? The icing or what have you. Like, that's a solid 3 minutes of your day. At least. At least. I don't have that kind of time, right? I stumble into the kitchen. I pour some coffee. I reach in. I grab the foil. And I eat my Pop-Tarts. I wanted 2 drops of icing. Oh, wow. So, pretty rotten luck right there. You can either end this fight in 1 or 2 hits. And it's going to be 3 hits because I missed the first. But his movement is random after that first movement. So, it's really hard to guarantee. So, what you want to do is position yourself that you cover the most amount of options. And he went one of 2 ways that he could go without me being able to reach him. So, that's unfortunate. All rats. Untoasted Pop-Tarts is for peasant scrubs. Oh man, that warms my heart. Dude, I haven't toasted a Pop-Tart since I was like 9. And I'll tell you exactly why. It's a personal reason. So, my favorite Pop-Tart ever was this mystery kind of Pop-Tarts where it was all white and it had sprinkles on it, but they were covered in like this really thin layer of frosting, right? And when you put them in the toaster and they toasted and they popped up, all of a sudden the sprinkles magically appeared, right? Those are the greatest Pop-Tarts ever. Well, they were discontinued not soon after they were released. And ever since then, I vowed that I would never toast another Pop-Tart as long as I live. In anguish. We stop using the melee weapon here pretty soon. Don't fret. What the hell is this game? Oh, I'll explain it to you. Basically, this game, you just kill a bunch of what are like genetically modified zoo creatures. And then in the end, you shoot a baby to death. It grows up, and it chases you through a boat. And that's it. That's pretty much the whole game. Parasite Eve 2 is better. You know, a lot of people think that, and I don't disagree, right? Because I prefer this one, but there's two huge differences. This game is so significantly unique that even the other games in the franchise are not anything like it. So this game is like an RPG, kind of semi-active battle situation, whereas the second one is much more survival horror action style of gameplay. Oh, that's unfortunate. So it just really depends on what you prefer in a game. If you prefer a story-based RPG, then this is probably your preferred of the two. And if you prefer what would be like an action shooter, like Resident Evil or something of the sort, then you probably prefer the second, and that's usually how it goes. So right here, we're just going to chase her around, try not to get swatted. Basically the opposite of every Ice Poseidon stream ever. This is basically Vagrant's story with mitochondria. That's actually pretty spot on. Third birthday is the best. Oh, Jesus Christ. Alright, buddy. Let's not get carried away. Let's not say anything we can't take back, alright? First of all, Third Birthday is not a Parasite Eve game. There's only two games in the series, Parasite Eve and Parasite Eve 2. That's it. Swatting is still a thing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely still a thing. We need a shots fired emote. Yeah, that would be pretty dope actually. I'll add it to my channel. I've been looking for good emote ideas. So right here, the rats move in a pretty predictable pattern. You want to end every fight as close to the next screen as possible so that you save time obviously on running. So you'll see me move to certain sides of the screen. Now, these fights are pretty easy. After this fight, we will be using the gun, so shots will be fired. 3 at a time, in fact. Yikes. So the rat decided to skip a turn, which actually throws me off quite a bit, because it means that the frog got an attack off, and you never want the frog to get an attack off, because the frog's hitbox is actually the size of a train. It's nowhere near where his tongue actually indicates that it is. It's pretty whack. But here, we pick up an item, and this is actually coming up to our first amount of time save. And it's a large amount of time save based on RNG. Very rarely happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we didn't get it. Feels bad. According to the wiki, Parasite Eve 3 is a Parasite Eve game. Yeah, that's not true. Might as well heal. Yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie. Third Birthday was released exclusively for PSP, which is essentially the video game version of going straight to DVD. Like, I think we can all be honest with ourselves in that regard. So we didn't get the fast fight here. Slight bummer. Wow, I got a ton of medicine. That's odd. That's good though for a run like this. So this is the only fight that I'm actually worried about dying in the entire thing. He says while playing on PSP. That's so true. The reason we play on PSP is the fact that it's a lot faster. For some reason, the PSP runs exceptionally fast because you can turn fast disk speed on, and even though it's like a digital download, it still works. It doesn't make any sense to anybody, but it's like at least 2 minutes faster than the next fastest console. They realized the entire game was upside down. Oh my god. I'm never gonna live that one down. I'm gonna have to clip that. That'll be my new follower sound. Trust me, guys, if you saw my situation, you would have realized how easy of a mistake it was. Don't worry about it. So this fight is actually all based on timing and positioning. Surprise, surprise. And if you screw it up on the very first set of attacks, you'll screw it up for the rest of the fight, and it'll all go south. Yeah, I don't know what the PSP's... Was it the one that slides, like those old phones used to slide and a keyboard would come out? Because I feel like that's going backwards in technology. One, two, three. Oh, too early. But we're alright. We're alright, boys. 1, 2, 3. Ooh! So, I'm a little bit behind right here. We don't want to see any crits. Because, oh, that was actually a perfect fight. If we see 2 crits, that'll throw off my ammo reload recount. And that's always bad. Yeah, I mean, PSP is cool and all. You just said PSP is great, except for, like, the way you play the games. That's basically what you said. The UMD is trash. Oh, that's bad. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to heal here. And the reason for that is that he can do an insane amount of damage all at once. We want to see him use his fire attack because it's really easy to dodge. It doesn't look like he's about to. He's feeling a little froggy today, so he's just going to chase us a bunch. It's fine. I'm going to play this slow and safe because this is actually like the only fight that's super easy to die on. The rest of them will be pretty safe throughout the rest of the run, so I'm not worried about losing the run. But that is actually the end of day 1. This game is comprised of 6 days, days 1 through 6, and each one is a split, essentially, when you're actually watching a timed run. So it's a very, very straightforward as far as like where you make your splits and things like that. The game is not immensely hard to learn, but in order, like, it's got a very low skill cap, but a very high. No, I said that incorrectly. It's very easy to learn, but in order to be really, really good at it, there is a lot of micromanagement, a lot of really, really minute details that can be adjusted. So high skill ceiling is what I meant to say. Anyways, back to the trolling chat, because that's what we're all here for. PSP was pretty sick. UMDs were not universal at all. Those were god-awful discs. Yeah, so basically the PSP was cool, except for like all the games that were made for it. Got it. Your PSP, I like it. I like the speed of it. I actually feel like the ergonomics of it. I like mashing on the PSP a lot more than I do a standard PS2 controller. Low learning curve. High cap, exactly. Easy to learn, hard to watch. Like, if there has not been a better description for Parasite Eve in history. That's it right there. That's it. Oh my goodness. How could you like cold brown sugar Pop-Tarts? I don't like brown sugar Pop-Tarts, period. Whether they're cold or hot. So, like, I completely dodged that. I don't know if you can hear this. That's the sound of good Pop-Tarts. Wild berry Pop-Tarts. Someone with advanced mitochondria would eat these Pop-Tarts. Brown sugar, no. It's crazy that we're still in the Pop-Tart conversation, but I will have it all day. I love Pop-Tarts. Huge fan. Huge fan of their work. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember the PSP. Big selling point for PSP was was the movies, right? Because at the time that was kind of a big deal. It's like, dude, do you want to buy Dodgeball on this weird shaped disc? You can, dude, and you can watch it anywhere you go. Just make sure it's plugged in because the battery life is trash. I don't like brown sugar. I do not. We good, chat? You have to have a high IQ to really understand why brown sugar is the best option. Well, if that's the case, then color me stupid. Super Troopers for my PSP. Lords of Dogtown. These are actually some pretty fire movies. But now we live in the age where it's all irrelevant. I got all that stuff on my phone. And on other various media sources. Pop-Tart PBJ sandwich might kill you. Oh man. I actually saw today on Twitter. This guy literally took a strawberry Pop-Tart, put a layer of freaking, what is it, Kraft Singles cheese? Sandwich cheese or whatever. And then another strawberry Pop-Tart. It was so nasty. Yeah, no, I really just don't like them. I don't like the brown sugar ones. Like, I won't even eat them. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Whoa, what the heck? This is the weirdest inventory. Oh, it's because I used an item, that's right. Like a scrub. Yo, I didn't mean to create a Pop-Tart war. I think we can all agree that the beauty in Pop-Tarts... I think we can all agree that the beauty in Pop-Tarts is that they offer so many different variations so that we can all enjoy what we enjoy, and we can all be fellow lovers of Pop-Tarts, you feel me? You might like brown sugar, I might like wild berry. Somebody out there probably likes those Pop-Tarts that have none of the icing on it, you know what I'm talking about? Those awful ones? But the cool thing is we can, because they have those options available to us. And that's the beauty in the world. If that's not a message that we should adopt as people, I don't know what is. Anyways, Parasite Eve. I'm going to show you guys here in a second. One of the most annoying things about this game, especially for learning it, is doors. You have to hit doors at a very certain angle in order to go through them correctly. Otherwise, your face will slide against it. And a lot of people I see play casually get turned off because they don't know where they're supposed to go. Because they slide across the door and they believe that the door is locked and they can't get through it. When in actuality, they're just not hitting it at like the correct 5 pixels. You have to hit it and angle yourself. It's really strange. This game is actually, like, casually a pretty difficult game. For the time period, at least. And like Final Fantasies, you had to play through the first 20 minutes of the game, the first day one, which is quite difficult, before you even get the explanation on how you're actually supposed to do things. We got the tutorial that I skipped through in the gun shop 20 minutes after we'd already faced hard enemies, which is very Final Fantasy-esque. Oh my goodness. Thanks for giving me diabetes. Oh man, that's okay. I think there's some things just worth dying for. Pop-Tarts, I would have to say, are one of those things. See, right here, I'll show you. See, you can just actually slide across doors. You think, oh, okay, I'll be able to make it through that door. No, forget it. Why does it look like Aya has a beard? It's a good question. That would probably just be her hair that you're referencing. Oh, never mind, that's her hair. Yeah, exactly. It's her. She has like these... You're not the first person that says that. She has these two... almost like sideburns that come down very far. I'm gonna go make a sandwich. Please don't burn the stream down in the next few minutes. No promises, alright? According to recent data, 1 in 3 people in the UK are obese, so I can't say it's just an American problem anymore. Yeah, but act like we didn't refine it, you feel me? You guys merely adopted obesity. We were born into it, molded by it. Everyone's fat now, it's 2017. Excuse me, it's not called fat anymore, it's called thick. And we think it's attractive now. I don't know if you've heard. So what you're seeing here is there's a lot of mashing. There's a lot of unskippable cutscenes, especially in the first few sections of the game. So you're gonna hear me mash and talk about Pop-Tarts because there's not a whole lot of content to cover right now. But I promise, as soon as we get there, I will try to inject as much actual Parasite Eve content as I can, as opposed to just having great food conversations. How appropriate. They both do things to my downstairs. Coincidence? I think not, honestly. By the time you were fat ass, I was on my 3rd bypass. Oh man. Shots fired chat is dude, it's just uncontested, the greatest chat there ever was. I love it. Wait, I'm attractive now. Oh yeah. So get this. For women, it's called being thick. For guys, it's called having a dad bod. That's a thing now. They're like, oh man, dad bods turn me on. I'm like, what? Thanks a lot, Kim Kardashian. I can't gain weight. My metabolism is exceptionally high. I used to be one of the beautiful people. But now because I can't be a dad, I can't have a dad bod even though I have a child? I'm not for it. I'm not about it. Oh man, we're having some actual hot takes here. Thick is when a woman is proportional and not a eating disorder skinny chick. Thick is not an excuse to eat KFC for breakfast. Oh man, I would actually wager that nobody should ever eat KFC, just period. Really, for any meal. Like, there are better chicken options out there. Like, let's be honest. To the shots fired crew, if anything I'm saying is going over any lines, stepping over any boundaries, absolutely feel free to tell me. So right here you see Daniel driving at absolute warp speed. In the middle of New York City, there's no traffic. Just racing through the streets. Okay, so I live in Texas. We have this thing called bushes and this thing called canes. There's absolutely no need whatsoever to even go near a KFC, unless you're asking for directions, in which case, don't. If you need KFC for directions, your life has gone amiss, alright? And yeah, if we're being completely honest, Popeyes is the better option, but bushes and canes stomp it. They're just going to cut the stream. I doubt that they cut the stream. I think they'll give me a warning, probably. And the reasoning being is that this is a 3-hour run, so you're going to have to wake up some angry people in order to fill that space. Hydra, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm definitely not going to reread it. We have a thing called Zaxby's here. Oh, Zaxby's is good. Yeah, see, we're talking about that A tier, that S tier chicken game. KFC is that C minus tier. KFC is to the chicken game what Kirby is to Melee. Just absolutely bad. I'm gonna go through these gun menus pretty slowly. And the reason for that is that if you accidentally switch the wrong stats to the wrong gun, you'll lose the run. And I don't want to have to lose the run. I feel like that would be frowned upon. What is your name? My name is actually, my name is Carrie Palmer. I'm 24. I live in Fort Worth, Texas. My social security number is 6623. I don't remember how many digits are in it. Damn it. 3, 2, what is it, 4? Forget it. It was a bad joke in the first place. Anyways, we're playing Parasite Eve. Very solid stuff. Daniel catches fire randomly. I'll explain that here in a second. I don't want to explain anything now because some of it gets explained here in a second, and it's nice to explain it during the cutscenes so that I can kind of use photos for reference. KFC is a solid melee DK. I don't know. I'll give you Mewtwo. I'll give you Mewtwo. That's as high as I go. Have you tried the new KFC Pop-Tarts? Yeah, they're probably brown sugar. If that was a reality. So I actually do stand-up comedy. I wouldn't say it's a career. I get paid to do it. I do it at conventions and things like that every once in a while. But I actually have a joke about, never mind. So right here, we're running into my ex-wife and her best friend. Give them the old 1-2. This fight usually ends in that second turn right there. But because I didn't crit, we're actually gonna have to fire one more bullet. However, it saves us from having to menu a little bit later on, so it's actually pretty good stuff. How's it going? It's going great. Parasite Eve, incredible game. Incredible chat. I don't want to tell you the joke because I feel like it's going to get my stream shut down, guys. My comedy is what you would call very dark. If you've seen Anthony Jeselnik, just know that it's that, but a little bit worse. If you want to hear the joke, come check me out at twitch.tv/professor_Palmer. And I should actually do like my routine on stream one of these days. I've done I've done an hour-long show before. Usually though it's about 30 minutes. And it's real dark stuff. Like real messed up, gory, dark stuff. Report me all you want. I'm just trying not to get fined. I'm doing it for y'all and for the future streamers. This is a 3-hour run. I can't have it getting shut down this early. If you get shut down, you guys are going to be watching the shots fired loading screen while they try to wake people up, right? The sellout tactic. Hey, man. Act like it wasn't all part of the plan. So right here is actually a spot that I'll usually reset at if I don't get what I want out of this chest, which is a tool, and we got it, so brilliant. You lose about 30 seconds if you get ammo out of that tool, and every chest in the game, or most rather, I don't want to say every, but most are 80% to give you one thing and 20% to give you another. In most situations, we want the 80% drop, so that it helps us out. But in situations, there's a couple of them where that's not the case. But that one right there, we want the more common item, which is the tool. Ammo slows us down by quite a bit. And when you're running against, like, you know, really good splits and everything, you can't afford to have that 30-second time loss. So this is actually a good fight, and I don't have to menu after this because I fired an extra shot earlier. Pick up the ammo here, we run in. 30-minute reset point, oh, that's nothing. When I started running this game, we actually had halfway through the run, a 3-hour and 10-minute run roughly, on average. We actually had a reset over a 50-50 chest, an hour and 30 minutes into the game. I believe on world record pace, it's an hour and 20 minutes into a 2 hours and 56-minute run. So yeah, almost exactly halfway we would reset. 30 minutes in, that's nothing. Okay, so now I'll explain some things. We're coming up on this cutscene here that I use to explain some stuff. But the first thing, and the most important thing that you need to know, is I want you guys to think back to a television show when you were a young kid. The Rugrats, right? if you watch the Rugrats, I want you to remember a very obscure side character, Cynthia. She was the little doll that was a little beat up, had some of her hair missing. I want you to remember Cynthia, and I want you to look at Eve and tell me that that is not a more twisted Final Fantasy Cynthia. You're about to see it. It's amazing. Right there. There. It's like Cher had a really bad day mixed with a little bit of Cynthia from Rugrats. It's beautiful. But right here, I'll explain some of the story. So what you're seeing is her catch people on fire earlier during the opera scene, correct? Well, during this scene, she's melting people. And essentially what happens is her mitochondria are evolving. And anyone who knows anything about science, but I don't want to say that science, the science in this game is not sound whatsoever. However, when you have things produce energy at a rapid pace, it creates heat, right? Energy puts off heat. So Eve has the ability to summon mitochondria and force them to basically act out and create a lot of energy, which is causing these people to either catch fire or melt. Now she's so strong that she can do it within a radius of herself, which is why Daniel caught fire when he even tried to enter the park earlier on. Now some people are more resistant to it than others, and some people just get caught on fire super easy, and some people, like Aya, can't get caught on fire at all. And we'll find out a little bit later on why that's the case. But essentially we're chasing her down, trying to figure out a little bit of her story, trying to figure out what her plan is, and a way to stop her. Using, right now, an assault rifle. We will stop using the assault rifle pretty shortly. We only use it through day 2, and after that we use SMGs for the remainder of the run. And when we get to the SMG, I'll kind of explain it, because it helps to be able to look at it and see how it works, to understand the explanation a little bit better. Cynthia was in half the episodes. That's true. I haven't seen Rugrats in a long time. I did say Aya and not Aya. I apologize for that. That's something I'm going to have to get used to. This game is too spook. And the beauty of it is, this game is like a Christmas game. Like Die Hard is a Christmas movie, right? So I can get away with playing it in things like Shots Fired. I played it in a Halloween marathon. And I could probably submit it to Christmas marathon. That's the beauty of it, right? Great game. I believe I'm at 61 health right now, which is not super amazing for this fight, but we should be more than okay, even if I have to concede a heal. Now this fight is super annoying because there's 4 birds. Now birds are sucky for a few different reasons. The first one being that they can stun lock you. They bump into you and then they attack. And something very, very important that I'll cover by example here in a second is contact damage. When something runs into you, you actually take damage, and for 0.25 seconds, you were knocked back. So that short stun doesn't cancel anything you have readied, but it will make you unable to move, so it's impossible to dodge during that period of time. So getting stunned by contact damage and then an attack right after is super gutting. The other reason is, as you saw right there, birds drop what is junk, which is exactly what it sounds like. In the speed run, we have absolutely no need for junk. That is a casual playthrough item. So it is what it says it is. It just clogs up your inventory. And we already have extremely limited inventory space as it is. We have story items that will come in a little bit later on that force into your inventory you can't get rid of as well. So your inventory just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Now snakes are the worst enemies in the game. And the reason for that is that they're, or at least early on, is that their poison is very, very rough. It does a ton of damage a tick, so it's super unfortunate to get hit by that. I'm actually going to concede a heal here, just because the polar bear can do a surprising amount of physical damage if he melees you. But right here, we got a polar bear firing lightning, and he looks rough, right? He looks a little beat up. he's not in the greatest shape. But for some reason he has lightning powers. I don't know why. I don't know what goes on that polar bears are given lightning powers. I don't know what the game designers thought would be really cool if that was the case. But yeah, he can shoot lightning bolts from his fingertips. So this is a really unfortunate fight here. We want the fight to go a certain way. We want to crit on one attack. And we did there. And I managed to dodge those attacks luckily, but those guys will hit you for a lot if you don't kill them in one turn. So we killed one of them in one turn. Not a terrible fight. I get the part where he's naming reindeer stuck in my head. Wait, what are we talking about? Oh, Die Hard. Yeah. Polar bear does a surprising amount of... Surprising considering the fact that he also fires lightning bullets. Is what I meant. But yeah, you're correct. It's not really surprising that a bear can punch you in the face for a good amount of damage. So right here, we have to fight two birds in a bush with arms. We want to kill the bush as quickly as possible before he gets an attack off. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it right there. But we want to be really careful at how we handle this fight because I need to have a certain amount of HP and a certain amount of bullets before going into the next one. So that went well, I can say. Now this next fight is what a lot of people will remember if they've ever played the game casually. Oh wow, that's unfortunate. 48 bullets. Alright, I think we're ready. This is the worms. Now a lot of people remember this as like the staple. I'm going to attempt a really hard strategy that's only ever been done once before. And I don't think I have the timing to do it, but we're going to try it anyway. And we got it off. Alright, cool. So we used to believe that these worms were entirely random, but they're not. We found out that there's actually a way to do it where you can basically determine how they're going to pop up out of the ground and the pathing and attacks they're going to do based on the first worm you attack. And I don't know why it works that way, but it does. It's very odd. But because of this, we're able to basically figure out a strategy to kill the worms in the fastest amount of time possible, and that is called the 121 strat. 1 minute and 21 seconds is the absolute fastest you can kill the worms. And this is going to be unfortunate. I'm not going to be able to do the 121 strat. The timing was off on the worms popping up, so not a whole lot you can do there. Maybe we can get it. We'll find out. Oh, we didn't get it. And I'm actually going to have to heal with medicine here. So, worms, I'll explain now that the fight has it's kind of fallen apart. What happens is when you kill one worm, the next few worms get stronger, right? They gain HP, they do a little bit more damage. So what you want to do is ideally kill as many worms on one turn as possible in order to lessen the fact that they're going to get more HP and stuff like that. And by doing that, you can actually, on the 121 strat, kill 3 worms in one turn. The old strategy, the more consistent strategy, is to kill 2 on one turn, which takes about 2 minutes roughly. Sorry I'm not reading chat right now. This fight is a little bit odd. I don't want to lose my only revive this early on. This should be it. Alright, cool. So all in all, not a terrible fight. Not a terrible fight. Not great either, though. We want to see the 121 strat, although it's only ever been done once. That is truth. It is exceptionally hard to do. It actually relies a lot on luck based on the damage your crits do, or how often you crit. Slaying the bush is all I really hope for. Oh man. Be careful what you wish for, right? Slaying the bush is not always important. Respecting the bush, that's what's important. I need you to remember, there's a person behind that bush. Sorry, that might be a little much. Some of the fights are pretty tough. You're absolutely right. Learning the game, the boss fights are what you're going to learn first, or what you're going to have as roadblocks first. But once you kind of figure out some sound strategies and some things that you can kind of teach yourself, it becomes a little bit easier. And then you work more on a little bit more on routing. But the game is very difficult and very, very punishing. It doesn't give you a whole lot of guidance, so it's exceptionally easy to screw up or to use a bad gun throughout the entirety of the run, and just be doing way less than you should be able to. It doesn't explain much to you if you skip the tutorial. No, it has a possibility of killing you. But here, it went alright. It went decent. Usually you want to see 4 swipes, you want to dodge them all. It's very unlikely. Going 2 and 2 is actually pretty safe, and in a marathon that's kind of important. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that me? Was that on my end? You guys can't get rid of me that easily. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that my bitrate is not jumping all over the place or anything like that and screwing y'all up. You have returned with Pop-Tarts. Wild berry? Or some lesser flavor. So right here, Daniel gets his kid back. We save his kid. Everybody else melted, but we managed to get his kid out. He runs out. He's dressed like Hugh Hefner. Obviously, Daniel, stand-up guy, stand-up dad. Lets his kid in the middle of the snow wear shorts and dress like the boy Hef. May his beautiful soul rest in peace. But in the middle of New York City, he's dressed in all red, running around in snow with shorts on. So there's definitely some underlying plot between them, but that's for another game, another time. I've never played the Turd Birthday, so maybe they go into that in that crappy game. I'm not sure. He brought that good brown sugar, right? Kid's a total blood. I mean, I don't want to say it. I don't want to assume his gang affiliation. I feel like that would be very un-2017 of me. But you know what? He might be. And his dad is very angry. He's saying, basically, we were attacked by a monster, and all y'all just sat in here in the NYPD, and they're like, what do you want to do? We're cops. We're not trained to handle this kind of business. Frosted strawberry. I can respect that. I can respect the frosted strawberry, I really can. Now, the strawberry ones without any frosting, I can't respect that. Can't respect those. Those people are monsters. I had a friend, that's all he ate. Oh no, what were they? Were they cinnamon on the inside, and they had no frosting. I was like, what is this? This is just hard bread with some filling. Right here is actually one of the first and most obvious, tips of the hat to Final Fantasy. This dog right here is named Shiva, right? So they said we needed a little bit of Final Fantasy reference. So they decided to throw Shiva a bone. Oh, goodness. Hi to VCA. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I'm not very cultured, and I wouldn't want to screw it up. But hello to you, my friend. Welcome to the Pop-Tart Court. It is now in session. We've agreed that we're in agreement that a frosted strawberry is a very neutral Pop-Tart flavor. Yeah, you couldn't tell that I actually did look at the camera, like Jim from The Office. Then I realized nobody was watching. which is pretty much how all my streams go, and that's fine. People can't deal with the Pop-Tart hot takes. You know what I'm saying? It's very controversial stuff. The fact that I'm slurring my words is not related to alcohol whatsoever. I just have a lot of Pop-Tarts stuck in my teeth. So right there, that guy that just randomly caught on fire for no reason, it doesn't explain it to you a whole bunch. Basically, that guy, you can just chalk it up to he was less resistant to it, and whereas everybody else has some kind of immunity to it. Like, there's varying immunities to it. Some people catch on fire immediately. Some people catch on fire, after, it's a little bit more difficult. It takes a little bit more. That's why some people lived in the opera. Not everybody immediately burst into flames. Yeah, he really caught on fire for no reason. I've actually never read that section of text because it's very unimportant. All you need to know is that this guy right here in the blue shirt is a huge, huge storyline component. His name is Maida, or however you would like to pronounce it. And here is where a lot of the story kind of meets what it was created from. So Parasite Eve was initially a novel that got turned into a movie in Japan. After having a lot of success, Square Enix decided to make a game based loosely on it. So instead of it following the exact same storyline as the novel, which turned movie, they kind of made a variation of it in America. So I want you to think like Netflix Death Note, right? We'll take all the good elements out of it, we'll put it in America, and people will play it. Add a blonde main character. That's all you really need to succeed. That is a Japanese to American conversion recipe, right there. But Maida, I'll explain it to you a little bit, the story. It's kind of important to know some backstory. So in the novel and the movie, what happened was there was a biologist, chemical biologist, and his wife died in a car accident. Well, he was stricken with grief, and he decided that he was going to culture some of his wife's liver cells in order to try to bring her back to life. Well, what happened was the mitochondria evolved, and they basically took a form of their own and ran rampant through the city, a lot like what we're seeing here. Well, Maida lived through that, through the beginning and the end of it in Japan. So he came to America to essentially check to see if it was happening here, provide any assistance if it was happening here as to how to stop it, since he was a part of that in Japan. So that's like, he is the linchpin that basically brings the two varying art forms together. So this very lovely apartment is very standard New York City apartments. This can be yours for roughly $3 grand a night, or $3 grand a month. Complete with dumpster fire, blinking TV. This is actually luxury in New York City. That's a great space. Cloud is not hot. I'm gonna have to say that his the proportions of his hands to his forearms are very strange to me. He is in a dress. Fight me. Oh man, this is a very, very meta discussion we're having. A hot blonde and a big black man. Square was ahead of their times. Well, in Final Fantasy VII, that was basically the main cast. In Parasite Eve, that was the main cast, and they kind of got away from that. They decided that they were just going to do what they knew. Death by dumpster fire fumes. I don't know if you saw the size of the vent in that room, but I think they're going to be alright. The ventilation is very top-notch. Top-notch technology. So right here, Daniel stops you. He says, yo, what's going on? We need to prepare ourselves. Let's go break into the gun store and just rob the gun store. Steal all their guns. So we're going to do that. We're going to go break into this gun store. However, they were like, oh my goodness, the gun shop is locked. Daniel, being the gangsta he obviously is, shoots a curved Angelina Jolie bullet right around you, shatters the glass, then Wyatt Earp twirls his gun into his chest pocket. What a legend. What a legend, bro. So here we're going to pick up just a couple things that we need to make a better gun. There's a lot of stuff you can pick up in here, but we pick up just a few chests. We only need a handful of things in order to make the best weapon that we can possibly have right now, which is going to be a souped up M11. Now right here I'll explain to you why we use the SMGs. Oops. Again, I told you I'm going to be very careful with how I handle these menus because they can lose you the whole entire run. So, essentially, the SMGs, if you put rate of fire 2 on them by basically modifying some stats to it, it will adopt the effect of rate of fire 2 with a random chance of firing a third one. Now, why this is so good is because when you add an increased rate of fire, it actually reduces the damage percentage of the bullets. So when you rate of fire 2 to 3, every bullet does 66% of damage. So you're not doing as much damage. However, that third random bullet that gets fired very often is completely unrestricted by the damage percentage reduction. So it makes it a lot stronger. However, the trade-off for this is that you can no longer choose your targets, right? The gun will randomly target whatever it wants. Now, because most of our fights are single target fights or relatively close in distance, and we can just stand in an advantageous position that we don't have to worry about it shooting at targets that are too far away from us, it's not too big a deal throughout the run. It's actually more advantageous for us to have that third random bullet that fires very often as opposed to being able to choose our own targets. There's only a couple fights in the whole rest of the game where it even poses any kind of issue. Time to read some chat. When is Daniel getting his own game? I have no idea. He should. I believe that's what the bouncer was. I'm not entirely sure. Never played the bouncer. But I think we can all agree that he would be a star in a game where you have to beat people to death. How would the shower cutscene work? Shower cutscene, interesting. Team showers are the best. Scrub each other's backs. I feel like those. I feel like that. I shouldn't have repeated that to myself because that could exceptionally easily be taken out of context. I love how upgrade your weapons by just taping your guns together and mashing your guns into each other. No, it's like a 90% chance to fire a third bullet. It's exceptionally high. It'll happen a lot. Yeah, so it's funny that you mention it. So in this game, a lot of people actually really dig the gun customization. And it's basically their attempt at making it, Final Fantasy-esque in that sense. They wanted to give you that kind of customization where you could kind of mix and match and build your own adventure situation, although it is relatively limited. There's some things that can't be put on some things. Weapons have a certain limited amount of slots where you can add stuff, and other stats override other stats. So you can't put rate of fire twice. You can't have rate of fire 5, rate of fire 5, so your gun fires 20 bullets, you know what I mean? But it is interesting. The one thing that's important to notice is that when you remove stats from a gun to put on another one, the stats of the gun that you're pulling from that gun will be completely trashed and lost from your inventory forever. Which is why if I accidentally transfer stats from one gun to another and it's the wrong one, the run is over so easily because it completely gets rid of the gun that you pull the stats from. So you gotta be really, really careful when you're just, crushing menus super hard and super fast. Because Parasite Eve is such a high energy and competitive speed game. Oh god, I've wasted nearly an hour of my life on this already. Time flies when your eyes burn. So I've actually done almost 500 attempts, I think, of this game. So trust me, man. Nobody knows just self-loathing better than I. You feel me? Turn up the game audio. Should I turn up the game audio? Is that a community opinion? The game has very quiet sequences. It's not like Final Fantasies and stuff like that where it's playing background music. What if Metroid could crawl? One of the dankest of memes. Rip the Miiverse. Rip the Miiverse. So right here, they're basically explaining the resistances that I explained to you earlier. I just turned it up a little bit. If it's too much now, definitely let me know and I'll turn it back down. Keep in mind, I will be talking through most of this. The run is not insanely interesting at every point in the game. There's a lot of downtime like this one right here. So I have to talk to keep people at least watching. I should start doing work, but D word, I love watching speedruns. Well, maybe you can do them both, man. In a perfect world, you can do two things at once. This is exactly how science works, word for word. Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny that they actually break into this dude's office. They use what looks like a regular science lab microscope, and it is somehow able to see things at a molecular level. And then he comes into his own office, and they pull guns on him. They're like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I work here. What do you want from me?" They're like, "You need to get out." He's like, "What the deuce? What's going on, man?" And he's like, "Whoa, these cells are hot. Where'd you get these fire cells?" They're like, "I'm not gonna tell you." And then he looks right at you. So I'm not gonna tell you. Glances at the person he got them from. Like, real smooth move. So right here, we're actually going to see this is the only skip in the game, and it saves 1 second, and it's completely. I don't want to say it's completely random. It's based on your text mashing speed, and we got it. Wow, we got the clamp skip. So we just saved a whole second. That's nice. Funny fact, I've never PB'd on a run that had the clamp skip in it. So I won't be PBing, but that's okay. Usually what happens is Daniel looks at the computer, it blinks like that, and the doctor comes and turns it off. But if you mash at a certain rhythm for some reason, you skip the doctor's animation of walking over there and turning it off, and it just skips to the next scene. And that's largely due in part that a lot of text is tied to animations. So people walking, people moving their arms and stuff like that. Which is why you can only mash at a certain speed before it becomes negligible. And sometimes you can, by mashing quickly, you can make people move faster so they wave their hands up and down. It's pretty funny. Epilepsy warning for the screen in the back. Yeah, it really is strange. Every screen in this game blinks like that for some reason. It's crazy. Yeah, Aya's actual skeleton would be a very interesting creature to see. Her legs make up a good 75% of her body. She's got a very tiny torso, and there's this large melon head. In some of the cutscenes, you see just how long her face is. I want you to imagine if Sarah Michelle Gellar had about legs a 1.5 feet taller, and her torso was reduced in order to compensate. That's what we're looking at here, right? She's got her jeans pulled up to her belly button. Classic Jodie Foster. Who's Aya? I'm sorry. Sorry, Aya. My apologies. So right here, we're going to get a fight that is forced. So now is where I usually explain how fights work in this game. So here is going to be the first example of a screen that we will be backtracking through, right? So every screen that you are going to get a fight in, you're 100% going to get that fight, right? That's going to happen every single time you go through that screen. Now, however, anytime you go back through a screen where you've already gotten a guaranteed fight, like the one that we just had that fight in, we're going to backtrack through it. You have a 50% chance, and reduced by half every time you go through that same screen. So we'll have a 50% chance of any screens that we go through more than once. And obviously, it keeps getting reduced and keeps getting reduced. There's only one screen we go through more than twice, and that's at the very end of the game. So yeah, basically a lot of the run can be decided like on the really, really good times. The really, really good times will be decided just by RNG and the fights that you get, which is unfortunate because you can have a great run that's just completely lost to, let me make sure I don't have any junk. Alright, cool. It's completely lost to just really, really bad luck with the random encounters. So right here is our first example, and we didn't get it. So far we are 0 for 1 on fights, which is good. There's 2 of them in the NYPD, and there's 4 of them in the hospital, and then there's a handful more in the sewers and in the museum. We want to make it through the NYPD and the hospital without getting any. Now the interesting part is that we have to actually have a certain amount of encounters. We can't, like, a perfect 0 repeat encounters run is actually a detriment to you, because you need to be able to be a certain level at the end of the game in order to have liberate. Now this means that we are forced to take a certain amount of encounters, but because the encounters towards the end of the game give more EXP, we want to not get any random or repeat encounters rather until the museum, if possible. Very, very unlikely, but that's basically the explanation. So now we'll go back to reading chat and having a grand old time. Sorry that I had to fill in the downtime with all this dumb game talk. Dame had legs that wouldn't quit. Her legs are something else, I'll give you that much. She's not a natural blonde. How dare you? How dare you? Her roots? Like, those are the roots of a natural blonde. Aya is giving... I'm sorry. It's giving me a hard one. As opposed to Aya, her much uglier sister. So we are 0 for 2 on random encounters, which is very, very fortunate. So now we have equipped the CM vest. So if you remembered me earlier, I explained that we take contact damage, right? When you bump into an enemy, you will get a very, very short hit stun, and you will take a small amount of damage. It's usually it's like a 10th or a 1% of your health or something like that. I can't remember exactly, and it varies from monster to monster occasionally. But what we can do with the vest that we have now is that the CM vest that we've just equipped will heal us if we fall below a certain threshold of our health. It'll heal us with whatever medicine that we have in our inventory. Now this is important for a couple reasons. We have very, very limited inventory space, so it allows us to thin our inventory without actually having to menu items out. And it also allows us, if we fall to a certain threshold of HP, allow us to just take contact damage and force a heal. And you'll probably see me do that in Shiva. That's usually the first big fight where that's a viable strategy. But there's a handful of them where you can actually get some invincibility frames because you take damage and the animation of your vest healing you will make you invincible for a short period of time. Would you say your sister is more likely to be called Aya or Aya B? Oh. No, I think it's just Aya. I think Aya is the very edgy sister that, despite not caring what people think, everybody seems to like her. She probably smokes like Parliaments or something. Or Reds. A couch full of other speedrunners. If you could actually replicate 3 of me and put them on a couch, that would be ideal. Because that way we could all, one of us could explain the game, and the rest of us could argue amongst ourselves about what Pop-Tart is the best Pop-Tart. So that's Shiva. She really quickly goes from a cute German Shepherd into a 3-headed dog monster. She smokes American spirits. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely American spirits. Good call on that one. Not the dog. Yep, unfortunately we gotta go slay the dog. So in some real typical I Am Legend fashion, we're gonna go and kill our own station pet. because it's done turned bad. Reminds me of oh Lord. You guys are really trying to get my stream shut down here. Baiting me into the reeds. You might want to get checked out. You really that's not some bad advice right there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Based on what you just told me and the rest of us, I would have to agree that a doctor visit would not be a bad decision. So the spiders slow you, right? And it's the first encounter you get with slow. Slow is one of the worst things you can possibly get in the game, because what it does is it screws up your ATB. Now, because everything is tied to ATB, attacking, using items, healing yourself, using magic, ATB is the most important thing in the game, which is why we dump half of our points up until Centipede into increasing our ATB speed. And because we don't have other party members like you do in a traditional turn-based fighting RPG style of game, all of your healing and all that kind of stuff needs to be done by the self, you know. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. You have to micromanage it to an extent. So this is probably my least favorite fight in the whole game. The only one I'm really afraid of dying on, and it's because of what you just saw right here. So she has 3 attacks that do damage, and 1 that heals herself, which you just saw there. Seeing the heal is so awful. I need to take contact damage twice, see if I can do it. There we go, perfect. Oh, wow. So why this fight is so bad is because Shiva has the innate ability to dance around our HP threshold for the CM vest. She has a move that can immediately half health you. You cannot dodge it. Regardless of what your HP is at, it will be reduced by half. And then she has a bite attack that can actually do more than half your HP. So if she uses her moves in a correct order, there's just nothing you can do about it. You're gonna die. But this fight went not terribly bad. We didn't see the bite a whole lot, and we only saw 1 of the half HP attacks. Dang it! I picked up the gun. I'm gonna get rid of that real quick. Strip it of all its ammo, and discard it. Take it for all it's worth and get rid of it. That's exactly how my last marriage ended. So, by making it past Shiva, she's the gatekeeper for runs. I had 2 revives, so it was if I died in that fight, it would have been the end of the world. I like to keep my revives for marathons. However, in like my actual attempts at the game, I don't pick up revives at any point. So it's very, very common for runs to die here. On average, about an hour and 10 minutes into the run. So Shiva is rough. Oh man, I see some chat getting very saucy. I see some very dank your mom jokes getting thrown around. That's fire. That's fire. Does the dog have spider legs in his head? I'm not exactly sure what's going on. In very, very typical Square fashion, a lot of their big scary bosses are just a bunch of objects smashed together to create an enemy. If you look at some of the final bosses in a lot of their games, that's just obvious. Like Necron from Final Fantasy IX is one I use a lot. Sin from Final Fantasy X, the ending fights in this game, they're just a bunch of weird shapes mashed together. That basically create a new being. And they're why? You know, who cares? Basically, anything that doesn't make sense in this game, you can explain away by saying, oh, it's mitochondria, man. It's mitochondria. If we had ever seen a world with advanced mitochondria, this stuff would happen. And you can't prove that it can't, because we're not living it. Yeah, this is a Square-made game, yes. Yeah, the dog did have a gun. Later, we're actually going to fight a giant spider who will also be carrying a gun. It's very, very Texan of them. Shiva, it's rough. Oh, man. Quality content we got going on here. Coffee and Friends, hello. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Right now we are playing the #1 hottest speed game on the market, Parasite Eve. Game was so hot, it was actually not even released in any of the PAL territories. It was US and Japanese only. So a lot of people that have played it in Europe, a lot of people that watch my stream and stuff like that are, you know, PAL areas. And they had to import it and stuff, so that's very unfortunate. Do I ever do runs of Parasite Eve 2? I have not. I've considered it. A lot of my regular viewers, have tried to talk me into it. I've had a handful of people ask me if I'll do it, and it's a very, very different game. I have considered it, and I might do it next, but currently I have a marathon coming up where I will be running Ni no Kuni, which is a game I run, and I'm working on grinding a better timeout for that right now. But as soon as I'm done with that, I might actually consider doing Parasite Eve 2, now that Wolf DNC, who is the Parasite Eve 2 king, among a few others, has put out a really, really great tutorial on how to play the game. Because that plays a lot more like Dino Crisis and Resident Evil and Silent Hill, whereas this game plays a lot more like, you know, an RPG does. So there's a lot of learning I'll have to do, a lot of variation that I'll have to get used to. Now I want a game full with animals carrying guns. Boom, you got it right here. It's like in South Park where they're like, that rabbit is defenseless, and they like throw a knife or whatever, or they throw a gun. They're like, he's got a gun, and they kill him. It's dope. Ni no Kuni is awesome. Oh, it is. Ni no Kuni is a fantastic game, a beautiful game. Obviously made by Studio Ghibli, or in partnership with them, so art was incredible. I like to call Ni no Kuni the Kingdom Hearts game without the crappy 10-year-old love story, because that's really what it is, and it's immaculate. 7-hour run though, that I hope to get a little bit faster than that. But this is Parasite Eve that we're talking about now. Ni no Kuni is a bit more difficult if you do the speedrun strats. We make the game super hard in order to make it through with really underleveled stuff and very limited familiars. This and FF7 was my gateway to RPGs. Yeah, I'm really glad that that a lot of people have played this game. It's a game that seems to stir up a lot of nostalgia. A lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, you know what? I remember this," but none of them being like, "Oh yeah, it's my favorite game ever." Because I actually learned the game blind, thanks largely in part to a guy named Primus who runs the game. Put together the most incredible speedrun notes I've ever seen for any speedrun ever. They're so detailed. You can learn the game blind in, you know, a day, easy. Which is why I suggest this as a good first speedrun for anybody who wants to get into RPGs. Our community is very dedicated to the game. A lot of us that do run it really care a lot about it, even though there's not a whole ton of us that do run it to begin with. But it is a fun game. It's great. So it always warms my heart when people have actually heard of the game. Most RPGs are difficult if you're super underleveled. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Ni no Kuni is exceptionally difficult. Okay, so Carcinogen, a good friend of mine. Love him to death. I actually just mailed him my old PlayStation. Great dude, right? Well, we talk a lot about not only Parasite Eve, but Parasite Eve 2 and some other games. Resident Evils, Dino Crisis, stuff like that. So great dude. And yeah, I did see him running it the other day. I talked to him a little bit about it. So yeah, maybe I will consider running Parasite Eve 2. It would be nice to have the world record in both the Parasite Eve games, so I could say that I'm like the king of Parasite Eve. Both games in the franchise, that would be cool. I played this as a kid. I was scared of it. Much spook. Oh yeah, much spook indeed, my friend. It's like Final Fantasy and Resident Evil setting. I believe the last shots fired I did, somebody told me, in which I have hung on to these words to this day, is that this game is literally Final Fantasy without the fun. Which, at some points, it really does feel like that. So this is the first fight in the hospital that we can get twice. We will be backtracking through this room. And you see me move in a pretty weird shape, and the reason I'm doing that is either to avoid certain attacks that have annoying status debuffs, like the bees will drop a slowing jelly on the ground, and it's also to keep myself within the best possible angle for my gun, which targets randomly. that I can hit them from no matter where I'm standing, in case it decides to target the furthest thing away. So my movement has some meaning to it, even though it does look a bit sporadic. Are you excited for Parasite Eve 4? If that was a thing, I would be super stoked for it. Although it is a shame that they went from 2 to 4. Could you be the king of Parasite Eve without having the record for the 3rd birthday? I'm not sure what you mean. Dino Crisis 2 is the broken auto-tracking LMG. I've actually never played any of the Dino Crisis games. But I'm really like the most anti-tank controls person on the face of the earth. And I know that Dino Crisis, the first Resident Evil, Silent Hill are big players in the... Okay, right there I forced contact damage to avoid getting one-shotted. But I know they're big players in the tank controls situation, and I'm really not a fan. Sorry for anybody who likes them. Not the bees, Nicolas Cage joke, classic. Alright, so far we are 0 for 3 on repeat encounters, which is pretty good. We're coming up now to the chest that I was talking about earlier. That's 50-50. You can either get a gun that's really good or a gun that's not as good, and it's completely 50-50 whether or not you get it. Well, now with some of the strats that I came up with, just from playing around with stuff, it actually is worth resetting over, at least for me personally. If you're running at world record pace and stuff like that, I would, I personally would reset over it with the minimum amount of time saved that currently exists. And we got the good gun, the micro Uzi, which makes me so happy because now we're going to have to hear ice bullets for the remainder, or for the museum, which is awesome. And I'll explain why it's so awesome here in a little bit. Okay, so we should have an offense. Alright, cool. So ice bullets in the museum actually do a certain amount of damage. Now, there is no tank controls in this game. I don't know about Parasite Eve 2, but not in this game, no. Ice bullets make you do 20 or 25% more increased damage in the museum to certain monsters, which saves you a good amount of time. It's really not possible to tell you how much time because it depends on, how often you get encounters and the type of monsters you get in those encounters. But it makes the most god-awful noise ever. So you guys are going to have to hear that spam for a while. It warms my heart. The music is actually, I believe, what is his name, Yoko? I think he made the music for this game. And he also did the music for the movie. Now the movie is, if you've played Parasite Eve, I highly suggest you watch the movie. You can actually watch it in its entirety on YouTube in the exact same quality you are watching me play this game right now. It's hilarious. Like it's kind of a Sharknado situation, honestly. It's great. So I highly suggest you check it out, just to kind of see where some of the stories correlate with one another and things like that. Oh my goodness. Parasite Eve 2 tried even more to be Resident Evil. Yeah, and that's what I say. This game plays a lot like Final Fantasy, whereas Parasite Eve 2 plays a lot like Resident Evil. So in the infancy of this game and its development, they were actually attempting to make a game that would fit the survival horror genre because Square didn't have a game for it at the time. And they needed to compete with the Dino Crisis, the Silent Hills, and things like that. So they made this game in an effort to combat that. Well, this game came out more of an RPG than anything. It didn't sell tremendously well. A lot of what made the game not a great game at the time is the uniqueness that people enjoy in it now, playing it like in hindsight, which is why a game will never be made like it ever again. Because a lot of what made it bad is what makes it good now. And another thing is that it will... I actually want to take that damage. An HD remake or whatever of this game also would not be the same. Like it probably wouldn't live up to this version. There's a movie? Yeah, no, it's a real movie. It's a real movie with like live action movie with real like Japanese people in it. You're gonna have to read subtitles, but come on now. I think most of us are anime viewers. You can read subtitles. If you can't, I apologize. You might have been educated in Texas like myself. That's a difficult thing to talk yourself into. I understand. Yeah, and it really has. That's kind of the uniqueness, and one of the things I love about it is that it did age better. Like, people prefer it now, as opposed to when it actually came out, it didn't sell well, and now people are playing it for that kind of cool nostalgia. It feels like a Final Fantasy game, and it's not, and it's like one of the first games that was actually put in like a relatively real-world setting in Christmas of '97 in New York. I don't know if anybody was there and can say that these things did not happen. If you can't prove that they didn't happen, it's obvious that they did, which is my logic behind it. Yeah, I highly suggest you you check it out. I don't know if there's a better resolution copy that exists out there than the one that's on YouTube. I have to hope that that's the case, because I'm pretty sure you watch it on YouTube in like 240p. Don't you dare call me an anime viewer. Sorry, I bet you're a brown sugar Pop-Tart eater as well. I can't read. Hell yeah, Texas. Are these related? Most definitely. Most definitely. Education is not important because we have guns, right? We have affordable housing. We have great tax laws, and we got guns. All right. So far we are 0 for 4 on repeat encounters. 0 for 5. Oh wow, so we're 1 for 6 on an encounter so far. That's almost the dream. Some fights are worse than others, based on how many enemies and stuff like that, how difficult they are. So you can imagine that you want to take some fights more so than you want to take other fights. Like, I would have preferred the encounter in the room between the previous room we were in. I would have preferred to have gotten that one if I got any, but to only get one is actually quite nice. I'm going to heal once there because the next enemy can do some sneaky amount of damage. You can't take a katana into a liquor store, though. This is Texas, man. I've seen people do weirder stuff. Tex-Mex is pretty good. And Tex-Mex is fantastic, and a large reason why some of the fattest cities in America are all along the coast of Texas. Corpus Christi, things like that. Weebs unite. You know, I do perform comedy, actually, at anime conventions, a few of them a year. So I relate. Funny story, actually, I was performing at an anime convention in San Antonio, and I was outside vaping, and these bronies came up to me, right? And they say, "Hey, nice vape, loser." And it was at that point that I realized I had reached absolute bottom of society. Like, vaping has become like the Ed Hardy t-shirt of 2017. The Tap Out Bedazzled t-shirt of 2017. It's really a shame. Parasite Eve is the anime of Die Hard. That's actually not a bad... Like, I'll give it to you. I think that's not a bad comparison. You were born in San Antonio. That's great, man. What part? I mean, I'm sorry to hear that, but that's cool that we share that interest. Can we get any lower? Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can. At these anime conventions, they actually... Oh, I need to heal one lesson. They actually have Naruto-inspired fidget spinners. Can you believe that? Yeah, seriously, they're like knives and stuff. Very dangerous. It's basically an advanced form of the butterfly knife that is guaranteed to pull you a lot less chicks. Okay, cool. So once we hit the once we hit the mixed man at least once, we will energy shot him to kill him. Now mixed men are like the worst. Excuse me. Mixed men are like the worst enemies in the whole game. And the reason is that they slow you for one, and then their second attack is to create more enemies. So in a situation where your gun targets randomly, being slowed and having more possible enemies to target is like one of the worst things that could possibly happen. So we try to get rid of mixed men as quickly as possible, despite them being relatively, you know, docile. They don't do a whole lot of damage. They're just annoying and can slow you down quite a bit. Oops. I'm going to heal up a bit here, just to make sure that we're topped off. I love this game. Kenny Dangerous, I'm so glad, man. I'm so glad that you love this game. Hopefully, watching this run encourages you to speedrun this game. We need more runners. They legit have organized Naruto runs. Yeah, you know, like, I love anime. I get down with some anime. I like to go to anime conventions, see some beautiful cosplays. Beautiful people cosplaying. There's a lot of good content, but like I don't own body pillows. I'm not big into like the hentai and stuff like that. Like, I think there's different tiers. I've never once had my profile picture be an anime character, so I think that I've not quite hit rock bottom. I got a little bit of decency left in me. Pulling chicks is for straight dudes. Being straight is so 2017. I agree. Who needs chicks? I already have a child, right? So, like, basically, I'm free to live the rest of my life in peace. Speedrun Parasite Eve. When you have Aya, you don't need any other women in your life. You feel me? Jet fuel, in fact, can't melt steel beams. They can, however, weaken them to the point of structural instability. Interesting. That's a hot take. Now, I'm not a scientist. But, are you telling me that all of the people with tinfoil hats on my Facebook are lying? Because I'm not willing to believe you. That's just blasphemy. I did get bullied by bronies. Like, that's the truth. That's really what happened. That's kind of where that bit goes. But I love performing stand-up at anime conventions because, like, there's just so much to make fun of. And I can throw, like, dark jokes in there. And, you know, introverts, they don't care. They think dark jokes are hilarious. Whereas sometimes my Anthony Jeselnik-style humor pisses off some of my viewers, I guess you could say. Thank God we have 1.5 hours of commentary left on this run. Hey, if you want me to stop talking, I can absolutely do that. I got some Pop-Tarts over here to keep me busy if necessary. Nothing wrong with being a furry. Hey man, I don't judge anybody for anything. I run Parasite Eve. I'm 24 and I've been divorced and I have a kid. Like, obviously I'm not in any shape to tell anyone how to live their life. So you want to be a furry, man? You furry your dreams away, man. You want to be a brony and tell me vaping sucks? Then do it, dude. I applaud you. What's a furry? Oh, shit. Oh, my goodness. So right here, I'm going to I'm going to attack first. Then I'll energy shot to finish him off because he's kind of in an advantageous position. We want him to end as close to where he is now as possible so that we skip the walking animation. It saves you, some minor time. What? He's not dead? Oh, okay, there we go, cool. What the hell, 24 married? I was married, had a kid, and that's not even the kicker. I was addicted to drugs. I was a heroin addict from 13 to 19. I got clean. I was like 2.5 years sober. I met a girl, dated her. Eventually she got pregnant. We got married after the baby was born. And then we lived together for some years. And then it fell apart, obviously. Divorced by 24. And single dad, basically. Now I speedrun Parasite Eve. I don't even have alcohol to keep me company. All I need is some dank shots fired chat, the Wildberry Pop-Tarts, bro, and I'm Gucci. Sprinkle in some pizza rolls every now and again. Any night I want to be luxurious, I cook a handful of pizza rolls. I sip some coffee, and I watch Clint Stevens. It's not a phase, it's who I am. Give away my kid? Yeah, honestly, it's not that simple. A lot of people wouldn't take her right now. She's almost 4, so she's in a very irritable situation. Shotgun wedding? No, it wasn't a shotgun wedding. We were actually together for a really long time. So it was like all prepared and everything, and it was like, it wasn't a surprise. Nobody was taken off guard or like. It wasn't one of those situations where it's like, oh, she's pregnant, we're screwed, gotta get married. It was kind of just understood, and we were like, ah, well, now we got a kid, might as well do it. Handful of pizza rolls is a weird way to say a 120 count bag, I think you mean. How old am I? I'm 24 years old. That was a weird way of an intro to the Twitch homepage. Alright, I didn't know are we featured? Man, I am how girl get pregnant? It's a good question. It's a good question, my friend. I still don't know. I think how did I manage to attract a member of the opposite sex is more impressive, considering I vape and attend anime conventions. I sound young. I look quite young as well. So, I'm sorry, I think. In Texas, every wedding involves a shotgun. You're not wrong. I'm trying to think if anybody had shotguns at ours. I don't think so. We were actually in Florida for the wedding. In Destin, Florida. Beautiful place. So, I think the shotguns were probably not permitted. People used to be ready to die at 24. Yeah, in olden times, when the plague was running about, 24 is actually a very respectable age to be Dunskies. Are we featured? How girl came pregnant. Oh, yeah. This is how you do it, man. If you're not talking about those hot takes, if you're not talking about that stuff that people want to hear, then people can see somebody play the same game for hours and hours on end. But the difference is, if you're arguing, if you're throwing shots, Maticus, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. Yeah, I ran this in a recent pretty big speedrun marathon called Questing for Glory. Shout out to High Spirits and everybody who managed to make that. Oh my god. Managed to make that possible. It was an incredible situation. But we actually ended up talking a ton about, believe it or not, Burgers. We argued over what burger place was best for a significant amount of time, and it was great discussion. I think what we ended up landing on was that In-N-Out is the best burger joint of fast food restaurants, that Five Guys and Smashburger and the like can't be compared because they're technically in a different price bracket. Although, you know, it's obvious that they would be higher quality food. It was a very enlightening, very great discussion. Oops. Alright, cool. So now we have quick draw on our gun, which means that we have a likely chance of starting a fight with full ATB. He's proud of his screwing up so early in life. I wouldn't say they're screw-ups. I really do enjoy my daughter. Me and my ex-wife, we get along splendidly. I just lived a lot of life in 24 years. I wouldn't say that they were screw-ups. Definitely am proud of it, though. I got a lot of life left to not screw up now, I guess you could say. It's one way to look at it. I mean, I've already evolved from brown sugar Pop-Tarts, so you could say things are only uphill from here. You guys have Grindr burger joints in Texas? No, but I have been on Grindr in Texas as a running gag. Poor choice of words. I have been on Grindr in Texas. It was like some friends bet me. Rough place, man. Rough place. We do not have Grindr. If that is in fact a burger restaurant or something, we don't have it. At least not as far as I know. I don't speak for all of Texas. I'm not George Bush or anything. Austin is a wild place. A lot of love going all different places. Also a lot of alcohol. Typically those things go hand in hand. I have one in walking distance and it's awesome. That's good, man. In Africa, for instance, it is seen as a mark of beauty. I'm not sure what we're talking about. I think we have multiple conversations going at once. Atlanta is the most... You know, I actually found out that Atlanta has the highest AIDS per population than any other place on Earth. Found that out last weekend. What's In-N-Out? So In-N-Out is like cheap, is about the same price as McDonald's or Burger King. It's a little bit more expensive than that, but it's much cheaper than, like, Five Guys is not cheap, and Chipotle is not cheap. Like, those I would consider a couple of dollars more expensive, whereas like a good meal at McDonald's or a good meal at Burger King would be about the price bracket of In-N-Out. So right here we have some of the worst enemies in the whole game, because they blind you. And we actually don't have a way to deal with blind yet, because the way that the enemies work in this game is that they give you status debuffs. Ah, that's bad. So if an enemy gives you a status debuff, you when you defeat it, it has a high probability of dropping the curative item for the status debuffs that it gives you. Now, because we've actually never fought an enemy that can blind you up until this point in the game, when we get blinded in this fight, we have no way to deal with it besides to just wait it out, which takes 4 turns. Five Guys is expensive for as bland as it is, and that's my opinion. Now, obviously, I saw something about Whataburger. Where do you place Whataburger? I think Whataburger's great. I think it's got a lot of like real, like heavy, good, like their barbecue stuff is fire. But it's just like the ingredients at In-N-Out are so fresh, and you feel like you're not just riddled with really, really bad crap for you when you go to In-N-Out. That's my take on that. Whereas Whataburger, I feel just like every other fast food restaurant. I feel like real heavy, and like I'm going to regret the decisions. A little bit of shame, you know what I mean? I don't feel that shame in In-N-Out. Jersey Mike's is so good. Jersey Mike's is definitely, for a cold sandwich, a cold deli sandwich, Jersey Mike's is unbeatable. And for a hot, like toasted sandwich, Potbelly's is unbeatable. And we have both of those nearby, so man, we have a good eating in Texas. Subway, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of Subway. This was before their relatively recent news debacle. I just was never a fan of Subway. What about Denny's? Oh man. So funny story, I was actually doing comedy. I was doing a tour from Abilene to Lubbock. And that's about a 5-city tour in the middle of East Texas, middle of like oil capital of Texas. And we went to a place called Big Spring. Real small place, real sketch place. But I looked up while I was going to be there, what is the top 10 best things to do while you're in Big Spring, Texas? So I looked it up, and number one, I kid you not, number one, voted by a significant margin, was Denny's. Denny's. The community of Big Spring, Texas came together and nominated Denny's their most impressive attraction. I kid you not. So when I did my routine, I was like, yo guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Somebody should get that fixed. You guys should address that. That's not a good look. It's no wonder the city looks like a nuclear bomb went off. Because if Denny is all you're offering, and it's obvious why nobody wants to live here. Waffle House is better than IHOP and Denny's. I'm not crazy about breakfast places, mainly because like I don't eat a whole lot of breakfast. And if I do, it's obviously, you know, really good Pop-Tarts. Holy crap, my inventory is atrocious. We actually want to keep 2 cure Ds. We need to be able to cure the D whenever we need to. So keeping 2 of them is more than enough. Denny's is only good when it's 4 a.m. and you're wasted. The same could be said for so much in life, though. Like if that's your niche market, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like if that's what if you're playing to your strength and it's like people enjoy us when it's 4 a.m. and they're wasted, it's not a great business model. Cracker Barrel is so good. So it's funny that you mentioned that. I had a regular viewer. He compared Cracker Barrel. Oh no, not Cracker Barrel. I'm sorry, I have them mixed up. Cracker Barrel is very good, but I feel like if any restaurant in the world was racist, it would be Cracker Barrel. Like it just feels like it just feels like when you walk through a gift shop in order to get to where your food is. Like nobody's wanted a Woolly Willy in fucking 10 years, right? Don't push it on me as I'm walking to my table. I don't want to play your crappy pegboard game. And that's my complaint with Cracker Barrel. There's a 24-hour restaurant in central London that does extremely high-quality food all day around. Yeah, we don't have any high-quality food here. This is Texas. We just eat bacon and Mexican food. And we just survive. Largely due in part to our pride, I would say. How about Chick-fil-A? Not a fan of Chick-fil-A. The reason being is when my ex-wife was pregnant, that's all she ever wanted was Chick-fil-A, dude. I swear, I kid you not. I got so tired of Chick-fil-A to Long John Silver's to Taco Bell. That was her phases. So I went to some really, really strange places that I was not terribly fond of. But Chick-fil-A, I feel like I always have to wait in line. Always. Like, regardless of time of day, regardless of, you know, how many people I'm with, if there's a special event going on, I'm either waiting in line or it's Sunday and I don't realize that it's Sunday and they're closed. Like, that's how Chick-fil-A works. Alright, looks good, looks good. I'm gonna heal with medicine here. Ooh, we don't have a whole lot of medicine, so that's not great, but this is Centipede. This is actually quite a difficult fight. There's a few ways to play it. Oh, okay, so that's good. Oh, man. And the first thing to do is not get hit by poison, but it doesn't matter. I always get hit by poison. Like, it's just not possible for me to dodge. There's got to be a better way to do it than I do. And maybe one day I'll care enough to figure that out. So what we do here... Ooh, hold on a second. Okay. We energy shot either one of the middle pieces, and that immediately gets rid of one. Now because I shot the other one already, one of my bullets, I'm going to get rid of the one that's obviously full health. Now this fight is super luck dependent. You just gotta hope that you stand closest to the target that your gun ends up targeting, and that you don't die. But so right there I forced contact damage knowing that I was going to die if I took full-on damage. And you just stand in the middle and hope you hit stuff. That's really how this fight goes. There's not a better way to do it because we have the gun that randomly targets stuff, which is kind of what we're dealt with at this point. Alright, cool. So now we've reduced it. Once you get down to 2, it's a little bit easier because you can kind of figure where they're going to go. And you can dodge some of their attacks if you care to. So here I'm going to actually wait out Energy Shot. Energy Shot this piece because it does more damage. Man, I'm actually paying attention to the game and regretting it because I see turtle meat being mentioned. I feel like I gotta have an opinion on that. So here we get ice bullets. Oops. M79-3 to micro Uzi. This is where the awesomeness really truly begins. Okay. Oh, that's what I'm gonna do. Brilliant. All right, let's scroll up in this chat a little bit. Let's make this chat a little bit bigger. Okay. Oh yeah, so just for you guys, for your entertainment purposes, this is what you move at if you're not running. So if you're not holding circle, this is the speed that you're moving out through the entirety of the game. And that's bad. I've never seen a game with character movement that slow my whole life. Horse meat is okay, but that is racing horse meat that has been injected with stuff. Horse meat is fine as long as it's not sold as cow meat. We can talk about food because we're all hyper obese and gonna die at 30. Well, I'm American, so I've come to terms with eventually my food choices killing me. That's fine. I'm 135 pounds. I think I'm not going to die of obesity. Yeah, I'm actually about $140, soaking wet. I'm like 5'10". I'm a pretty slender guy. I can eat like a whole cake and gain no weight from it and be skinnier the next day. It's crazy. So right there you see a good example of ice bullets just doing work. They go hard. I've lost 90 pounds this year. Don't tell me that. Horse meat made for consumption had just as many antibiotics in it. I actually didn't know that horse meat was like a real thing. We have a restaurant here called Twisted Root in Texas, a burger place where you can get all kinds of exotic game. I had an ostrich burger, an elk burger, what's the one they had recently? Buffalo burgers, things like that. It's a really cool place. Alligator. You should speedrun a game about fast food restaurants. You know, if you try hard enough, every game is a game about fast food restaurants. Just depends on the chat, you feel me? Okay, so now we're getting to the more serious points of the game. Show your face, otherwise this is a recording. Unfortunately, showing my face is not up to me. I would like to because I'm exceptionally vain, and I have great bone structure. So if you want to see my face, you're going to have to go follow me at twitch.tv/professor_Palmer. And that is an underscore as in the actual sign underscore, not the word spelled out. Can you get reindeer burger? I don't believe so. Does it have the most dangerous game? Depends. So here in the museum is where the run starts to really take off. Like this is where you should start breathing heavy, because this is the only spot in the remainder of the game where you can actually save or lose a bunch of time. Once you get through the museum, you get to day 6, it's all boss fights that are pretty straightforward and pretty consistent. So here is where you got to be the most careful of what goes on. I think I actually broke him. He's not moving, which is amazing. I've never seen this. Awesome. That was a great scorpion. Holy Jesus, Lord Almighty. I could have swore. Oh, he cheered. Alright. I forgot to turn the cheering off. I just turned everything else off. So that's my bad. Hopefully you guys don't have to hear that again. I don't want to get copyrighted for anything. The VODs just got nuked, I think we can safely say. But here in the museum, we actually fight a bunch of these dinosaurs. That last enemy you just saw me get killed right there. Those take increased damage from ice bullets. And the armadillos I'm going to fight here in a little bit also take increased damage from ice bullets. Now, some of these fights in the museum can actually be a mixture of what you guaranteed to get the fight, but the actual creatures that make up the enemy composition can vary. So ice bullets can save you a ton of time or not a ton of time, depending on how lucky you are with the compositions of the enemies you actually fight. So if I get just tons of fights with things that are weak to ice, as opposed to just tons of fights with regular enemies, obviously it makes it a bit faster. Dang it, I shouldn't have picked that up. Kenny out here sabotaging this great run. Thank you so much, dude. I really do appreciate the cheer. Cheer for Parasite Eve. It deserves it. It's a great game. That's what I thought. Oh. So right there you're going to see me use my BP, and I've been using it all game. But if you've been watching closely, I actually have started using it on attack now, as opposed to ATB speed. Now when I started running the game, everybody always dumped their stats into attack. And Primus was actually working on dumping stats into ATB to see if it was any faster. And we found out that it was. So I got down and I crunched a bunch of math in order to see if there was a way to have a good mixture of the two. And it turns out that ATB actually has diminishing returns. So after a while, you actually don't gain anything from ATB. So it makes it obviously more advantageous to put your points on attack. So now we actually have a good spot where we switch from ATB to attack to make the run even faster. This run is routed exceptionally well. There's not a whole lot of time saved left out there in the ether that you could possibly figure out. No encounter here, that's really favorable. Rip Pop-Tart and fast food discussion VOD. I think we'll be alright. I don't think Damon Albarn plans on suing us anytime soon. Looks like Aya is casting Blizzard. This game is so Final Fantasy. Yeah, that's ice bullets. It makes a god-awful noise, and it does an increased amount of damage to certain enemies. So it's really nice, and I love getting it in marathons because everybody has to hear it. Everybody has to deal with it. It's amazing. Shots Fired is an online event. Who runs this event? Brave people. People that are willing to let me play this game and talk about, really a whole lot of whatever I want. Opinions on Parasite Eve 2. I think the game is dope. I think Parasite Eve 2 is a great game. However, as I explained a little bit earlier to some people, and how I explain on my stream or to people who ask, is that Parasite Eve 2 plays a lot like the genre of game it was made for. It plays a lot like a Resident Evil, Silent Hill, survival, horror, action, shooter game. Whereas this game is much more RPG. So it really comes down to personal preference on what style of game you like more. Now, I was raised on Final Fantasies, on RPGs, so I prefer this one to the second one, but I do think the second one is incredible for what it is. Whether or not it's the better game is completely up to taste. Just like the Pop-Tart discussion we had earlier, even though Wild Berry is obviously the significantly better flavor. No one even knows who runs this event. No, there are some great runners. You should definitely check out the Shots Fired Discord if you want to get into contact with some of the people who run this event. It's great every time. This is my second time running it. The chat is just as spicy as ever. So I always have a ton of fun. So I always submit to this because it is such a magnificently handled event. And hopefully all that brown nosing buys me a little bit of a few more F-bombs throughout the entirety. His third birthday good. Ah, man. I hope you're joking. If you're not, then no, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's not a good look. It's not good to the point where we actually pretend it doesn't even exist. It's also referred to as the turd birthday for a lot of us. 'Cause it's just a shit game. How quickly can you speedrun Parasite Eve 2? I'm never much of a speedrunner myself, and I could do it in an hour and a half. I'm not entirely sure what the time is for Parasite Eve 2. I want to say that it's somewhere around there. I would have to double check. I think it's an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, something like that. Not entirely sure. Third birthday has a nudie scene. Nice. That's what you gotta do. When your games go straight to PSP, somebody's gotta get naked. You feel me? Back with renewed energy. Please kill me. Quality. I'm off to bed. I would love to stay up, but I'll be dead at work later. I feel you, man. There's no reason to stay up for me. No reason at all. Besides this incredible commentary and this amazing chat. I mean, work will still be there. You know what I'm saying? In all seriousness, go to bed. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for sticking around. I am _. They ask you to keep the language clean. No, not necessarily. They just don't want it to be like just non-stop. So I've dropped a couple of naughty words here and there. But altogether, the run is very, or the marathon is very lax, very laid back. And they do, like, if something is a little too much, you're going overboard, they'll definitely stop you. So they handle it well. It's not GDQ level of Nazism, that's for sure. Ooh, I should. Guess that's something I shouldn't say. I gotta look up gameplay footage of the third birthday now. Yeah, absolutely do so. It's cool looking, but that's about it. That's about it, which is really what you could say the exact same thing for my ex-girlfriend. Great looking, but just not a whole lot there. You feel me? I fapped to Aya way back in 1998. Well, what you should have done is fapped to Aya, her significantly better looking, much more talented sister. Do you think it'll go straight to UMD? Third birthday did. Do you think, what are you referencing, the Yule Bowl movie adaptation? I have no idea. Crisis Core was PSP. The streamer is 29 years old. I'm actually 24. But, I mean, whatever makes you like me more. I'm a sucker for reassurance. So right here, what I'm gonna do is heal with medicines. Now, some people always ask me. Some people ask me, why do I heal with medicine here? Or why do I heal with medicine at certain points as opposed to others? Now, that's because PE, your parasite energy, your mana, whatever you want to call it, is extremely important in a lot of situations, and this one being one of them. We want to kill with energy shot this raptor in one hit, so that immediately it turns into just a one-on-one fight, which makes Scorpion way easier to handle. Now, energy shot, as you've noticed, oh my god, energy shot, as you just noticed, it uses up all the parasite energy you have. Now, if it's full, it does a significant amount more damage, which is why I don't want to use any of it healing myself. Another thing is that it puts you in a stasis, like, after you use it all. So that's just something that's worth noting. It's kind of a dangerous ability to use in some circumstances. 24, your life is a lie. I mean, you could be right. I'm _ screen cap it. Wait, what are we screen capping? Going to leave stream running. Glad, man. We need all the viewers we can get. Parasite Eve is something that needs to be shown to the world. More people need to appreciate it. More people need to run it. Do you ever slow run a game you speed run out of sheer enjoyment? No, actually. So it's funny you mention it. All the games I speed run, I've never played casually. Ni no Kuni, never played casually. Parasite Eve, never played casually. The Simpsons arcade game, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, and what's the other game I run? South Park: The Stick of Truth. I never played any of those games casually. So going back and doing it now would probably only upset me. This fight went about as well as it could. Well, I'll take it. Drop a heal right there, because sometimes we can actually get a Scorpion fight here. It's not great when we do. It's rare. Alright, cool. If Aya was a Latina, she'd be Aya. What? I butchered that. I'm sorry. I didn't do the joke the justice it deserved. It was well written. So I apologize. Once you go fast, you don't come back. Can you speedrun the game Honey Select? I mean, I can try. No promises that I'll be good. This is the only game that I would be considered good at as far as the games I speedrun. I'm not close to Worlds. For Bram Stoker's, did I play on the NES or the Super Nintendo? I did. I did play on the Super Nintendo. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm lying. I played on the NES, the original Nintendo. My apologies. I just used the Super Nintendo controller. What is a world record for Honey Select? I don't even know what Honey Select is. Honey Select sounds like a type of graham cracker. Like a brand. So a lot of people that never played this game, or that did play this game casually, probably didn't even know that this little room existed. It's actually a room that has a really, really good shotgun in it, and you kind of have to find it by just kind of playing around. Honey Select is an H game. Oh, I can definitely speedrun it then. I probably already have, you feel me? Honey Select is like 3D models you can make have sex. Interesting. So it's like The Sims with subtitles, is what you're telling me. So right here is one of the coolest cutscenes in the whole game. Through her mitochondria and powers, she is actually able to bring a dinosaur to life. A real live dinosaur. Great stuff, great stuff. And it breathes fire. So just like the lightning polar bear earlier, this is a situation that doesn't make sense. And until someone brought it up to me, I didn't realize that dragons don't breathe fire. I never thought about it. Honey Select is really good character creation. Sims without censoring and normal talk. Sure. What mod Addy do I have? Oh, sorry if you just heard that. I have I'm using a penguin right now, which if you know anything about the penguin, it's like a combo. It's got the battery, the tank, the coil, and all that stuff built into it. I use it for traveling and speedrunning because its battery is so good. And it doesn't make a ton of noise. So we actually didn't get any repeat encounters here, which is funny because if you don't get enough repeat encounters, you have to force some encounters later on, and we might actually be at that point. So right here I have to check my inventory to ensure I don't have too much of anything, because here we have a story we have to mash through, and your 2 items are forced into your inventory, and if it's full, you'll replace items you have currently, and you can completely screw up a run if you're not paying attention. Are there cutscenes that are skippable? In Parasite Eve, no. In Honey Select, I have no idea. We'll find out when I start streaming it to Twitch, and then Azubu when Twitch removes me. Dinosaurs breathing fire is a bit hard to Parasite believe. Oh man, that's a spicy pun right there, my friend. Yeah, dude, I love the penguin just for like in my car and when I go to work and stuff like that. I have an alien with a Cleto that I prefer as like my going hard mod. I used to have like a Dogex 2 and stuff when I was building my own coils, but that's kind of outdated these days. How did the Honey Select talk start anyway? This is great. I have no idea. I think somebody baited me. I think somebody knew that I would say something about it. I likened it to a graham cracker brand because I'd never heard of it. And all of a sudden, every expert on the game in the world happens to be in this chat, explaining things like character model design and whatnot. He could honestly speedrun Honey Pop, though. I mean, I don't know. I'll look into it. Aya is Cloud with boobs. She really is. She really is. There's a point a little bit later on where you'll see a cutscene at the very end of the game where you see just how long her face is, and she looks just like Cloud with long hair. RDAs are all the rage. Oh man, I don't know what 2015 era you're living in, but here in Texas, where I live in Dallas, where like a lot of the big companies ship out of in the Plano area, like Suicide Bunny and Vape Wild and all those guys, RDAs went out around here a long time ago. People have preferred tanks predominantly for a while now, at least around where I am. A lot of H games are banned on Twitch. That's probably fair. Like, there's times where I don't understand how Honey Select is a porn game. Oh no, yeah, we've come to that conclusion. I don't mind talking about it though. I'll talk about anything. You give me a subject and I'll talk about it. That's kind of why people watch my stream. All 6 people that watch really enjoy my opinion on things that are pretty irrelevant. Rip Suicide Bunny. I actually knew Pip fairly well because a buddy of mine owns a juice company up here now, and he met with her tons of times, and she was very, very rude. And I don't mean to say anything about a person that can't defend themselves online right now, but let's just say the girl could kill some wine, you feel me? Can you truly get trolled if he enjoys it? I feel like that question could be asked in a lot of regards in life. Everyone in the UK is on, wow, man, that's crazy. Yeah, the aliens are not well put together. I've already had to buy a second one. We're talking about porn games and vaping right now. This is the absolute... This is the cream of the crop for speedrunning context. For speedrunning marathons, it doesn't get much better than this. It doesn't get much more wholesome. I love where this is at right now. So this fight is actually quite dangerous, especially because I failed to heal beforehand. I could easily get gypped if I'm not careful. But I'm hoping that if I take a certain amount of damage, I can actually avoid dying by popping medicine through my vest. Basically what happens is you want to get this guy out of rampaging form where he's running at you with his head like that. You want to get him out of that form as quickly as possible. And the best way to do so is you just pump him full of damage so he turns into his more docile, more easy to manage headless form. Man, we're really playing a gamble right now. Wow. I believe I was, what, 1 HP from dying right there? That's nice. Parasite Eve really being kind today. Now this is the harder of the dinosaur fights by a huge margin. This fight is actually quite difficult, and the amount of damage that he does is extremely sporadic, and it can be very hard to dodge at times. But if you can live through this, you can live through T-Rex very easily. I'm glad that we had a wholesome father figure like you to watch on Twitch. Absolutely. I'm a dad. I don't know if you guys mentioned that. We had a conversation about dad bods and what is an attractive thick and what is not a little bit earlier. So definitely check out the VODs if they don't get nuked by my gorilla sample. Do you like Jam Monster at all? I don't know what that is. If you're talking about an e-juice, I make my own e-juice. So I don't know. I'll die happy knowing that in the future we can create waifu-flavored vapes. Wow, that's the next level. It's weird that these creatures even went extinct with that horn laser and all. Yeah, well, you know, all the fire-breathing, horn-lasering things in the world can't stop a meteor from blocking the sun. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to assume your beliefs. Believe whatever y'all want to believe. So I'm an energy shot early. There's a thin line between pig fat and thick. I would have to agree with you there. There's some people like, man, that chick's thick. And I'm like, no, man, that chick is unhealthy. And it's bad of you to encourage someone to pursue such unhealthy measures after seeking nothing more than a false sense of beauty. That's very American. Very American. If you make your own juice, you actually save a lot more money. I'll tell you that much. And it's good. And you have full creative control over it. So as you can see, haste not only plays a huge part in the fact that it makes you your ATB faster, but it makes your movement faster too. So it's really, really good for dodging things that are spreads, or it can hit you multiple times. And the T-Rex's fire is one of those examples. Like, you run hella fast. And this is literally all you do for the T-Rex. You just gun him down to death. Try not to get hit with the fire. The only thing that can really hurt you is the fire. And if you stand behind him, you don't have to worry about taking damage from it. There you go. If you don't like a woman in the hood, it don't matter how thick she be. Wow. I mean, wiser words have never probably been spoken. That was deep. Now, I screwed that up in my last marathon, and I did it really slow to ensure that I didn't this time. Alright, cool. I think we're Gucci. Honestly, felt like I had no choice but to DIY juice after the UK law changes. Why can I not go through the door? Yeah, DIY juice is awesome. I love it. I don't think it's an American exclusive thing. The fine line of thick and fat. I can believe that. I went to Guatemala once, and I got my passport banned upon my return. So I'm not an expert. Okay, so I have to force a fight if I don't get one in this next room, which is unfortunate. God created them already dead. Whoa, that's a conversation for a different stream. But I talk about stuff like this on my stream all the time. So if you guys are interested in having a hot debate, follow me. At me, baby. So now you can see we have turned our pistol into a pistol shotgun. Hits multiple enemies if you can line them up correctly. And it does just a crap ton of damage. But I need to be level 33. Okay, perfect. We actually got the perfect amount of random encounters throughout this run. So that's as good of a run, repeat encounter-wise, as you could possibly get. I was told dinosaurs were created from fallen angels having sex with animals. Your Bible school is a lot different than mine, I guess. Isn't yeast just yeast? It's deep. It's deep, my friend. So did you know about the Kickstarter that has been made for using vagina? I'm getting baited so hard right now. Hey, so wait. Is this all about dinosaurs? Or is this a dinosaur section? Well, we're in the museum right now. We're actually in like an archaeology museum. And that's why you're seeing so many dinosaurs. This game is not actually about dinosaurs. It's about advanced mitochondria. And that mitochondria is being utilized to bring these dinosaurs to life, which is kind of the correlation. So as you can see right here, I managed to hit all 3 enemies at once with 1 bullet. And that's super, super good for a few reasons. Obviously, you're doing a lot of damage with 1 attack. But you also conserve ammo, which is something that we struggled with for a while. Especially if you're not getting a whole lot of repeat encounters. But now we don't have that issue anymore. Almost never. Yeah, see, 200 ammo, that's a crap ton. And right now we have 10 minutes of mini cutscenes coupled with mashing. And now I'll catch you guys up on the story. For anybody who's new or coming from the featured page, the front page of Twitch, right now we have pursued Eve, the advanced mitochondria being. She has sprouted a handful of more breasts and is pregnant. So what is taking place here is that we have chased her to the ends of her life cycle. What she's doing is she's giving birth to the ultimate being now. Now the ultimate being is what she will give birth to that will usher in the new age of humanity, that will wipe humanity clean and bring on the next age of the evolved, advanced species in the world. So that's why she's pregnant now. Now, in the movie and novel, they actually made a big deal of making a pretty risque, pretty intimate scene where she does, in fact, get pregnant. And I noticed that they were willing to leave that out of this game. Now, that's neither here nor there, just something I would offer. So, Eve right now is looking like 90% of the Tinder game in Arlington where I live. Sorry if that was offensive. But I just wanted to use it as a reference. Banned, yeah. If you are ever interested in death by alcohol poisoning, take a drink every time someone in this game says mitochondria. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But she has finally reached close to the peak of her powers, and she is now summoning this entire gelatinous blob to lead her through the streets of New York, to find a safe haven as she attempts to give birth to this ultimate being. I'm a teenage girl, born in 1993. Well, that would make you 24 like myself. So you might be a teenage girl at heart, which, you know, it's 2017. You can feel like whatever you want. Is the main character a grill? She is. Her name is Aya in this version of the run. She was named an extra character because the world record run actually has perfect RNG with an extra character in her name, and this run does as well. I'm sensing a correlation there, guys. This is the ideal female body. You might not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. Fair enough. Had no idea you live so close. Yeah, I'm in Fort Worth, right on the cusp of Fort Worth and Arlington. Open-minded streamer. I'm extremely open-minded. I'm into some weird stuff. We'll leave it at that. I do comedy, stand-up comedy, and my content is very morbid, very dark. So I like to have an open mind for what people are, you know, offended by, so that more so that I can target it more than anything. But I also have some sort of compassion. I'm only 14, so I can't date anyone older than 16. I'm sorry. That's okay. And I think you should be focusing mostly on your studies. I remember when I was 14, I was not a great kid. Typical Valley Girl accent. Is that me? I have a Valley Girl accent? Because I'm a little bit flattered. Morbid comedy, where do I follow, please? I actually should record one of my stand-up sets. I do, you know, anywhere from like 20 minute sets, 30-minute sets to hour-long sets, depending on if I headline or travel or whatever. One of these days I should upload one of them to my Twitch. I'm sure people will get a kick out of it. Vaporware, the clothing line which integrated a vape rig for when you truly want to say, I am hipster trash. Is that a real thing? It's clothes that have like a... It's like the vaping beer hat? Is what you're meaning to tell me? The hat where you could put beers on it and it had that straw? You're telling me there's a hoodie I can wear now that I can vape out of. Yeah. Living in 3030. I'm just stuck in 2017. BB420 has a bigger dong than me. Hey, man. Life's not all about comparison. Check this out right here. Check out how this guy runs. It's one of the funniest things. He's got this stain on his pants as well. Obviously, his battle has become very intense. This guy sounds like a school shooter who never actually did shoot up a school and now has grown out of it. Thank you, I believe. I really feel like that's a compliment. I overcame great odds. And I actually got along with almost everybody in school. For some reason, people like me. I have this really crazy innate ability to be able to say just anything, and people were like, nah, don't listen to him. He's always saying stuff like that. So I get away with saying ridiculous stuff. One day, I'll get beat up for it, deservedly so. Maybe I'll watch my mouth. But until then, I'm just gonna stream on Twitch. I want Square Enix to remake this game. Cross-Taker, me and some of the people who regular my channel, we've talked about whether or not that would be a good idea. And there's a few reasons that I don't think it would be. I talked about this a little bit earlier in this run, was that the game, its uniqueness that we appreciate now was actually its major flaws when it was trying to sell upon its release. So a remake of this game leaves them in a really weird spot as to like, what do you make better, what do you get rid of, who do you appeal to? So it would be a hard thing to remake and remake well. So right now, the Air Force pretty much shows up. They land a helicopter in the middle of the street of New York, and they say, hey, listen, do you have any helicopter experience whatsoever? You got a pilot license, anything? No? Forget about it. We need you to fly through New York City. No seatbelt, no protective gear whatsoever, and shoot missiles at this monster. Look him up. He looks a bit like a school shooter. That's fair. I've been told I look like a lot of things, and that is definitely not the worst. So yeah, if you want to, I do like actual face cams, because I'm very vain. I need to be told that I'm pretty in order to find value in life. So I do, I stream usually with a webcam on my channel, so you can go look at some of my VODs or whatever if you're interested in what I look like. But based on my my Bumble and Tinder results, people are not interested in what I look like. The things we like about it now would be shit upon release. Yeah, exactly, and that's why this game, the second one, were completely different games. One was an RPG, one was a survival horror, because they didn't know what to do well, and they just didn't realize it. People just didn't want Square Enix to make games that weren't Final Fantasy. They didn't want their Final Fantasy company trying to appeal to every single market that was gaming in the 90s, in the late 90s. You don't want Parasite Eve remade with only if EA remakes it. I think if EA remakes it, we got a really solid chance of the game being a gem. Parasite Eve remake will be released on UMD. It'll be a package deal with the third birthday. It'll be third birthday DLC. Oh, that would be so fire. So right here, we believe we've killed her. But obviously it's not that easy. Follow the runner at twitch.tv. Oh yeah, feel free to follow me if you're interested in this style of conversation. The gameplay, if you really love Parasite Eve, definitely follow me. I am the world record holder for this game. I've put tons and tons of hours and work into this game. I love this game. I love running it. And I'm very, very kind to anybody who would like to start speedrunning it. Absolutely hit me up. Also, if you're interested in just hearing Pop-Tart rants, food conversation, and trash talking of like political subjects, then also follow me for that as well. Not EA. I was joking. I didn't know if that was I didn't know if I should have hinted at sarcasm a little bit better. I apologize. Speedrun required you to pay $10 for loot boxes. Yeah, it would require the use of amiibos. Oh, that would be next level. True ending would be DLC. Oh my goodness. That's what I'm talking about. That is the evolution of gaming, my friends. Somebody in chat, I don't actually have the stream pulled up right now. Somebody in chat give me an idea of what my time is at right now, so I can kind of have an idea whether or not I'm going to go over estimate. I feel led astray, but I forgive. Led astray in what regard? I nose exhaled. That's the equivalent of finding it very amusing. Hell yeah. The nose exhale. That's a when you get a snort, that's how you know you've won. 229.03, really? That's actually pretty good. How can you love running this game? You can't even skip the... Yo, okay, so I know that you say that, and a lot of people agree with you. You can't skip the cutscenes. 40 minutes of this game almost is cutscenes, unskippable cutscenes. But when you run a game like Ni no Kuni, where you can skip every single cutscene, and it's 7 hours long, you really miss the chances that you would have otherwise to go to take a pee and stuff. Like, I love that about this game sometimes. What makes it a crappy speedrun is also what makes it enjoyable to speedrun. You got breaks, dude. You can go pee, you can go eat, you can Snapchat, you can get through all your Tinder likes usually pretty quickly. It's good stuff. So, unskippable cutscenes, they are a blessing in disguise, I'll tell you that much. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I misinterpreted that. Do you think this game will ever get a remake? I don't think so, and I hope not, is my opinion on it. Now, there's people who would probably wish for one, but like I said earlier, the things that make it great for me now were the same things that made it not sell well when it came out. So they would have to ride some really weird line in order to please everybody, which I don't think is possible at this day and age of game development. Gun sounds like someone hitting a cardboard box. Yeah, so Ni no Kuni is 7 hours and 15 minutes, my run is, and you skip everything. You can't get up, you can't stop playing at any point in time. You gotta finish it out, man. So I literally, at one point in the run, just stopped and was like, I gotta pee, dude. This sucks. So right here, we're gonna use Liberate. Now, Liberate is one of the coolest things in the whole game, and what you do here is, if you've ever seen the anime Claymore, at the end where Claire is able to turn parts of her body into, you know, like the beast blood she has into her, she's able to turn her body into half beast while maintaining her humanity. That's kind of what you do here, and it looks very similar. You turn into this dope, winged, basically Eve creature, and you beat the crap out of her. You do a ton of damage. Aw, man, that's bad. And it's awesome. And usually she'll die after a couple hits. And there you go. So I was one attack round off. That's fine. I used to love this game. Are you playing the sequel after? Unfortunately, I'm not. I know a lot of my viewers have really asked and really politicked for me to run Parasite Eve 2. And I'll probably get to that as soon as I do my Ni no Kuni marathon the first week of November. I'll probably start learning Parasite Eve 2. How will you ever get that brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart inside you if your speed game has no brakes? I'm gonna just ignore that one. I got Wildberry Pop-Tarts on deck over here. Games can lose what made it fun and unique if they remake it. Absolutely. TV shows, games, movies, all of those fall into that. Parasite titties too. I have the weirdest boner. Just wait until you see the next couple phases. That's when you get. Did you ever play Vagrant Story? No. But I have one viewer who religiously tells me I need to run Vagrant Story. And I spoke to the world record holder of that game. Real cool dude who was also begging me. He said, you come play it. Come please run Vagrant Story. And I just couldn't get behind it. I tried. And I really wasn't digging it. Maybe I'll return to it eventually. But Vagrant Story is actually quite difficult. Gotta wear diapers, speedrunner strats. Yeah, that's gonna be a no-go from me. I'm thinking that I could possibly turn my my office chair into like a have like a removable porta potty underneath it, because I have like my kids' training potty that I could somehow like fashion to the bottom side of this, because my chair has a hole in it already. So you know, that's some next level stuff. Never take breaks again. This entire game is about how everybody is just hating on Eve because she is different and a feminist. This game is literally Austin 2017 colorized. Or decolorized, I guess. Vagrant Story is just so effing boring. I tried playing it casually, man, and I just couldn't make it. Right there, you gotta be real careful about your inputs. You screw stuff up. It's so easy. Yeah. What if they made a remaster of Parasite Eve like they did for Resident Evil? If it was the exact same game with better graphics, I would enjoy it. This is why people call speedrunners degenerate. No need for diapers. Turn the webcam off. No one needs to see what you do. Nice. You know, sometimes I do really, really shameful, self-abusing things in my room where my streaming rig is set up, and I just glance at my computer and I'm like, oh, please don't ever forget to turn that off. Like, I ensure that I close my computer monitor and everything, just to make sure that no one's catching me in my darkest of moments on accident. Like, on purpose is a different story. If I'm advertising it, that's different. Clearly. Okay, so right here, I'm going to explain real fast. The ultimate being has been birthed. We've defeated Eve for the final time. But now, we are having to fight the ultimate being in its 4 stages. It's infancy, which is this baby. We just gun down this baby real quick. And then the teenage one, the adult one, and then the evolved ultimate being, which is the easiest of the 4 of them, in my opinion. But regardless, we have to fight them all 4, and the strategy that is used now is a strategy that I came up with to ensure safety and consistency, and it works very, very well. It makes sure that these 4 fights, because there's no breaks in between them, you don't get to heal, you don't get to reload or anything like that. I make sure that these 4 fights are pretty consistent, pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of variation in them. So from this point forward, the only thing we have to worry about is the escape sequence at the very end, which is one of the most brutal and agonizing things ever put in a video game ever. But we'll get to that when we get to that. If you like flying babies, maybe you should consider speedrunning Drakengard. Well, I'm not a fan of flying babies. Like, I feel like if there's one thing you can do to make a baby worse, it's give them the ability to give them the ability of flight. Then everybody be unhappy. It wouldn't even be limited to just the parents. What do you think about a PE movie if done well? I mean, the Parasite Eve movie actually exists right now, but if done well is definitely the key statement, or the key phrasing in that statement. Alright, so here we cast haste, we shoot the baby. Funny little tidbit about the baby is it uses a move that reduces you to 1 HP, and if you time it correctly, you can actually get invincibility frames, which causes that move to do 0. However, if you screw it up, you still will, so here it is, and there you go, I dodged it. So that means it basically just saves you a medicine, makes the fight a little bit faster. So the baby is dead, we have officially killed the baby. Now this is the hardest of the 4 in my opinion, but this is where the strategy that I came up with is introduced. So we used to just run around and shoot it to death and dodge its very, very punishing attacks and hope that it didn't kill you. Where now what we do is or at least I do it, is to shoot it once and then liberate. And if liberate lands on the piece on the ground 4 out of the 7 times, you are going to win this fight. And it'll be over already, and that's it. So already, we're off to a real bad start. So we need 4 of the next... Oh, man. Okay, so no more attacks on the top, please. We need the rest of the 3 to land all on the body right now. 1. Perfect RNG. Perfect RNG. So it should be dead. And if not, it's 1 hit away. And it'll jump to the center, we shoot it once, and we move on. Yep, here we go. There we go. Cool. Great stuff. This is the only game I have seen with titties and baby killing. Heavy pro-choice chance of the game. Oh, man. Parasite Eve is actually just foreshadowing of what would eventually be incredible political debate. It's a game that has a lot of substance, I guess you could say. So here we take that damage, we get a couple shots off. We follow him to wherever he jumps, and at this point we just shoot him until our Parasite energy is full again, and then we liberate to kill him. Wow, I got both of those off, very nice. What I'm going to do here is actually use a medicine to heal, because I've already done enough damage for Liberate to kill him, so I might as well heal with the free turns that I have. So what I'm going to do here is Liberate. Oops. There we go. I wanted to heal first, Liberate second. That way I go into the next fight with full HP, which makes it very, very easy to make it through. Perfect RNG. Yep, it was perfect RNG on that. Well, yeah, it was on the actual Liberate moves. Nothing gets me going quite like killing babies. There's some things I really should just not read out loud. Politics. If you live around limp, I live in Texas. Politics is a very. Oh wow, he's not dead. Oh, there we go. One more. This game is just protest against feminism. Houston, Texas, 1931. Detexturized. Jesus. Is that a ball sack under his tail? Now, a lot of people have asked me that question. I want to say no. But honestly, I can't tell you. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the character design is. And he went from baby to teenager to adult to a giant stingray, right? Which is very distasteful considering this is right around the time period that Steve Irwin died. I'm just kidding. I have no idea if that's true or not. But it's a huge stingray, and he does nothing. All he does is these little orbs come and fight you. Like the guy himself, he doesn't do anything. He sits there. You just gotta shoot him until you've done 20 damage, I believe. Yep. The dude totally got an ass sack. That's a fantastic quote. So right here, you're gonna see one of the coolest, just the absolute coolest cutscenes in video gaming history. So I'll let you guys take it in. I think about a decade plus from this game release, so yeah. Same century, right? Same century, it's all good. Maybe if you hug the baby instead of killing it, you wouldn't be in this situation. Hey man. You don't tell me how to parent, alright? But tell me that wasn't the coolest cutscene of all time. He literally catches fire as he jumps out of a moving helicopter, throws just a perfect spiral to you, while on fire, to ensure that you catch these mitochondria-enhanced bullets. And then he lands in the water to extinguish himself of said flames. What an absolute god. What an absolute legend. Okay, so now right here is where I actually mute my game. And you guys will hear the music and understand why. Yeah, Daniel is the real hero throughout the entirety of this game. Why did he catch fire? Because he got within a certain distance of Eve, so his mitochondria actually were overacting and caused him to catch fire. Why did he jump without a parachute? I think his plan was from the get-go to actually jump, catch fire, and land in the water. I think it was all planned. So right here, I'm actually going to stop talking to chat for a minute. This, if you screw this up, if you get caught by the ultimate being, or you accidentally go in the wrong room, you will you lose the whole game. Run's over. So I gotta be really careful about what I do here. I almost lost the world record run like this. I think everybody who speedruns the game has lost a run at some point during this sequence. So usually in this game you'll buffer your loads. So like as the screen is loading, you'll start holding the direction you want to be moving in. Whereas during the sequence, you don't want to do that because there's actually like some slight load issues you can have based on like light animations that you're about to see here in a little bit that I had on the world record run that almost lost me the run twice in the last 4 screens of the game. She says some dank shit. For some reason, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna let it catch up to me so I can drop this, so I can fire some shots at it. I can abuse it verbally for a second. If you die, you have to restart the entire game. Yes, if you haven't saved. Which in a speedrun we don't do. And you can hear the music as it gets louder and louder and faster and faster. I've always muted my game during this sequence because of how antagonizing the music is. It makes my heart rate go crazy, and it makes my palms sweaty, and makes me screw up. And that is going to be the last playable screen of Parasite Eve. Now, we're not done yet. We still have a good deal of cutscenes, and we still have some text to mash through. We actually got to listen to the credits before the timer is finished, because that's our last save prompt in which we will get our in-game time. So yeah, it does suck that we have to make it through all the credits, but let me see what my time was right now. 2:45. See when I exit. It might actually be below estimate, which is incredible. The only time I've ever made my 3:05 estimate, and I've run probably 15 marathons, was in the other shots fired. Was in the first shots fired I ran in. That's the only time in all the marathons that I've actually met my estimate, and this will be the second time, I think. Why is it a full game over? It's not a full game over, you just go to your save point, right? Well, the only save point on day 6 is before you start all those boss fights. So you would have to fight all the bosses again. You can't continue, you can't even use one of your revives to bring you back to life. It's just game over. And because we haven't saved at any point during this run, it's basically just a dead run. One of my VODs, or one of my highlights on my channel, is actually my world record run, and there was a weird light interaction at that point that I climbed the ladder, where it stopped her ladder climbing animation. She just sat there. So I was holding that direction, hoping she would climb the ladder, which when it immediately loaded into the next screen was the opposite direction I needed to be running. So I was a few frames away from just throwing away an incredibly good time. This is one of the best games I've ever played. I think it's a great game. I love this game. When will you do a Call of Duty World War II insane difficulty 0 deaths run? Probably never. Probably never. 9 out of 10, it's okay. Very true. Very accurate. But now we just mesh. If you look at some of the... So like a lot of the backgrounds are like pre-drawn. You can see the cab driver is just this fixed object. Whereas like all the main characters and movable objects and things like that, they all stick out. They're all very vibrant colors, whereas everything else is like drawn and very solid and very consistent and very grayscale. Oh yeah, Daniel survived. Didn't even scorch his suit, bro. So if you're gonna tell me that Daniel wasn't the real hero of this game, then I don't know. Speedrun for Parasite Eve 2. I will get to it. I do promise. I will get to speedrunning Parasite Eve 2. If I could have the world record for both of them, that would be maybe. Women would find me more attractive or something. I don't know. But we're going to definitely try for it. But I can't start doing so until after the first week of November, because I have to brush up on my Ni no Kuni for the next marathon that I'm doing at the beginning of sometime during the first week of November. Shaddix, thank you so much, man. As always, you guys have put up an absolutely stellar speedrun marathon. It's funny that it's funny that when I submitted, I just said, we had such an amazing Parasite Eve showing at the last Shots Fired. I just said, let's do round 2, and it got accepted. So I was like, that's what I like to hear. My boy Shaddix, he knows what the people want, and what the people want is Parasite Eve, an incredibly heated Pop-Tart discussion. We need to get a petition going for Parasite Core, the story of Daniel. I feel you, man, I feel you. I find you attractive. Okay. I don't know if maybe you're talking about one of the characters in the game or you went and looked at my channel or whatever, but I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that positive affirmation. Does your Tinder profile have your speedrun game times? So, funny story, for a little bit, I did. Like, when I first got the world record, like a long time ago, I put in there speedrun world record holder for Parasite Eve. And believe it or not, nobody ever said anything to me about it. Like, I was thinking, like, if I'm on the other end, I'm like, oh my god. Yo, this guy knows commitment, right? This guy will never be unloyal. He will be honest and trustworthy because he has been willing to put so much time into one of the worst games ever made, sales-wise. So you know that he's committed to things that really aren't worth being committed to. And that's how you find a suitable match. You are an attractive young man, good sir. Don't beat yourself up. Get a girlfriend to do it for you. Nah. I have a child. I don't have a whole lot of time for stuff. I work, I come home, I sleep. I actually had to take off work any times that I have a speedrun marathon, so I don't have a whole lot of time in my day. But one day, when my kid is old enough to take care of herself, I will get on Plenty of Fish or whatever like everybody else does. Why don't I ever see a Parasite Eve 2 run? It doesn't really have a whole lot of runners. So the thing about Parasite Eve 2 is that the people who run it are not like, that's not their one game, you know what I mean? Whereas Parasite Eve, I'm the only person who runs this in marathons. That's it. So I'm the only person you're going to see running in marathons. Besides, I believe Turbo Dog and Pewexel ran it in RPG Limit Break some years ago. And it went well and everything, and that was the old, really, really difficult route. Now the game is much more refined, there's no resets or anything, so I run it every chance I get. You know, obviously I'm the world record holder or whatever, so I try to put it out there. I try to get more runners, obviously try to build my own channel and whatnot. But Parasite Eve 2, they don't have anybody that's that dedicated to that game like I am to this one. So it doesn't get submitted to marathons and stuff like that. So maybe I will get there. Carcinogen runs Parasite Eve 2, yes, but Carcy is also, like, most people know him for many, many other games, and I think if he had to choose to submit some games to marathons, Parasite Eve 2 would be far down that list before some of his more, well-known Resident Evils and other things like that. What is my job? I'm a cybersecurity technician, but I do stand-up comedy as a side gig and a hobby. So that is essentially Parasite Eve. Now, this game does have a New Game Plus category, and it also has a New Game Plus True Ending category. So what happens is you will go to the Chrysler Building and finally defeat Eve, and that's how you get the good True Ending. Now, this is, what most people would consider a bad ending or whatever, because of the way it just finished. But we do, as is indicated by our rules, we've discussed changing them about where we do our final split, but we have to wait through the credits, because at the end of the credits you hit the final save prompt, and that gives you your in-game time. Now, we don't actually use in-game time to compare times because of how it works between different platforms and with safety saves and stuff like that. No, I'm actually exceptionally skinny, man. I couldn't gain weight if I tried. I mean, dude, you can go see my actual webcam VODs and stuff on my channel if you care to. I'm just a skinny nerd. I'm a skinny nerd, not a fat one. I believe there's like two ends of the spectrum and no in between. But yeah, we do have to wait till the end of the game to split to the end of the credits. So the music in the credits is not terrible. There's a pretty famous song that a lot of people seem to like. No, I don't understand it. I listen to pretty much strictly trance music, so I obviously have no idea what is good music. But if you enjoy the song, definitely have a listen. I'll be a little bit more quiet. If you got any questions, we got about 7 minutes of this. Feel free to ask them, whether they be about the game, be about me, or whatever else. Your body might not be fat, but your mind is. My diet is absolutely disgusting. I eat pretty much like nothing but pizza rolls, McGriddles, and like and SpaghettiOs, and obviously Pop-Tarts, as you guys have found out. I don't know how. Oh, and cereal. Dude, I murder cereal like crazy. So yeah, needless to say, I'm a giant man-child, with no girlfriend to make me feel bad, or to better my life, I guess, at the same time. Have you pee? Ending explained. Okay, so in this ending, we have, we defeat Eve for what we think is the final time. The bullets that I used to kill the ultimate being were actually DNA from Aya that was cultured and put into the bullets to defeat them with that mitochondria. Now in the end you see there that Eve is still not completely dead. That mitochondria power, you could still see it in the crowd and their eyes, that it still is there in some way, shape, or form. And that's essentially how this ends. You would have to play the New Game Plus and do the true ending in the Chrysler building, which we don't do in this run, in order to get the finale. And I won't, if you want an explanation on that, you're better off either watching a Let's Play or reading it online, because I don't run that category as a giant meme. So I actually don't know the entirety of how the true ending works. Do you have any other marathons planned soon? I believe I have really long-a-thon, which is at the beginning of November. As far as Parasite Eve is concerned, I don't have any other marathons. I'll be running Ni no Kuni in really long-a-thon, which I believe is the first week in November. Now the issue is Parasite Eve, I never thought there'd be a marathon, that Parasite Eve wasn't long enough for me to submit to. But sure enough, you had to be 4 hours or longer. So I couldn't even submit Parasite Eve. Bummer. Did you like Trump's choice of trance music on his clip show of the Asian tour? I have not seen it, and I feel like if I know Trump, I'll probably be ready to give it a chance, but ultimately left feeling like it was handled improperly. Explanation is probably my yeah. Have you played Res Infinite because of the trance mention? I have not. What do you think about the third birthday? It's not great. It's not great. It's just not great. I mean, there's not a whole lot I can say about that. I'm not a fan. I know that it's got a fan base. I'm just not part of it. What is the worst Pop-Tart? The worst Pop-Tart is like those cinnamon ones that have no frosting. Easily, like bar none. Pop-Tarts are pretty terrible if someone comes on it. I would agree with 99% of things in the world are probably follow that what would you call that? That idea. Flop tart. Do you mean December? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I mean December. I keep saying November. Yeah, I mean this first week of December. I'm so sorry. Is there a New Game Plus speedrun? Yes, there is. No, you don't have to beat it twice. What you do is you just start. You can actually start New Game Plus from the first front menu. You do that, and it's way faster. Now, to actually have a good time as the speedruns are concerned, you would have to grind out tons and tons and tons of New Game Plus runs until you get all your stats maxed. You get an incredibly good gun with all its stats maxed and things like that. And then you would probably be able to put up a better time. But yeah, the game is basically like 30-40 minutes shorter at that point. Great run on this game, man. I enjoyed it very much. Haven't played this since it came out. Absolutely, man. Sorry if some people were more interested in the game and all we talked about was nonsense. I just know that the game is not 100% engaging, so sometimes we have to fill the downtime with a little bit of shenanigans. SWAT 4 upcoming. Please move out of the way, sir. As soon as I wish these credits could go faster, I promise. Great run. Thank you so much, Lily. I can't believe you stayed up for the entirety of it. What time is it in Australia right now? Good run, man. Mad skills, bro. Thank you so much. Run isn't over. Yeah, once you see the Square Enix cast start to get announced, that's when you know it's getting closer to the end. Oh my goodness. Despite me not paying attention whatsoever to what the time was like, this is going to be actually a really good time for a marathon. The best marathon time I've ever had. Especially considering I started the marathon with my controller upside down. I actually have an emote of my own now. Let's see if I can figure it out. Oh, there it is. The run is still, yes, the run is still going. When you do the final split at the very end, that's what gives you your in-game time. Oh, that's my face, by the way. So if you guys, that's not a great indication of what I look like, but that's something. That's my one emote. I do have Franker Faces emotes where you can see more of my face as well, so. Oh, thanks for all the cummies, Palmer. I love you, Daddy. You're welcome. You're welcome, my friend. So what's going to happen is I'm going to mash, once you see director right here, as soon as director finishes on the screen, I'm going to mash a little bit, and then I'll get ready for me to call time. Very much enjoyed this Pop-Tart talk with speedrun in the background. I did too, man. I always enjoy doing shots fired. It's one of the best marathons there is. The chat is always something else, man, and I love it. It's my favorite type of thing to do. Is just talk to people about nonsense while I play a game I love. And time. So thank you guys so much. I was actually insanely ahead of my estimate. This is easily the fastest marathon run I've ever done. The second fastest was the previous shots fired. So something about shots fired just brings good RNG and great runs. Again, thank you so much, chat. You guys have been absolutely incredible. Thank you, Shaddix. Lastly, everybody who's doing such a phenomenal job of running this. You guys always kill it. We talked about an H game for a while. It was incredible. You guys are the best chat I've ever had. I say that to all my chats though, so take that with a grain of salt. My name is Professor Palmer. This was Parasite Eve. If you enjoyed it, if you enjoyed these conversations, go follow